And hello, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing, show number 89. And with me, the ever we're almost Robert. Okay.
Robert is so offended by that. Oh, there he is.
So, I started with Ed, and Robert said, "Screw it, I'm out of here. If I'm not number one billing, I'm not here." Okay,
we need to go alphabetically here by last name. So. That's how law firms fight it out, right?
That's right. That's right.
So awesome. We are on digital capture number 2. Give me some love. All right. So we are show number 89. With me is Mr. Edward St. Ange from Flip2, Mr. Robert Cole from Rock Cheetah. And we're going to have a fun guest next week with Sojourn. We'll get to that in a little bit. But as always, this week we are covering a little bit of after the first quarter stuff, a little bit after some of the fiasco stuff we talked about last week with the ad stumblings and silliness of Burger King and Cracker Barrel and all the rest of the stuff. But Mr. Robert has actually been the major contributor to our fun topics this week. He put together quite a healthy list, but then even with that list and the ones I added for potential topics, Mr. Ed pops up with stuff we didn't even cover on the list. So Mr. Ed, if you want to start with yours that you brought to the table for show and tell, we can easily do that.
Mine's better. Well, mine's better. One, because I didn't get it from Skift.
See, now there you go.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's going to be better. One of those shows.
I'm going to be honest. They are getting better. They're getting more news-like. Mm-hmm. But did you guys see Hotel Beds bought GTA?
Yes, from Coney. Yep, which is a big chunk of their business. So.
Yeah, so that's really interesting.
I have to be fair. I actually didn't see it until you brought it up. When you said, "Hey, you guys didn't put that in the article list?" I'm like, "Damn, I didn't even see it."
That broke after I sent my list. So.
I'm late breaking.
Exactly.
Yeah, literally late breaking.
Yes, like I hit things all the time. So, hey, have you guys ever heard of Hayden Shaw?
Hayden Shaw.
A gentleman named Hayden Shaw.
Hayden.
I had the pleasure of seeing him speak this week, and I'm inviting him onto the show. So he is like an expert in multi-generational workforce management and how to make the old guys work with the young people. And
I'd like to hear that.
I figured you'd like it, Robert. I actually, when I was telling him, I'm like, will
they teach us how to play foosball?
What is that foosball?
Hey, I was playing foosball before you were born.
That's actually why I brought this up. Actually, he talked for almost 2 hours. He was the keynote one of the days this week, and I got to be honest with you, it felt like he was talking for about 15 minutes.
Wow.
The insights and a lot of the stuff he covered was kind of the why the generations are the way they are, which was really interesting insight. But yeah, so I invited him on. So we'll
wait a minute. Is this the anti-Lauren? Because I can talk for 15 minutes and it feels like hours.
Yes, it would be the opposite. The opposite of that.
And did he use the term whippersnapper at any point in the conversation?
No. But the thing he keeps repeating is, "It's the end of the world as we know it."
Oh well. And that does have merit, actually, because we've heard of the same things. Like the world that we're in is not going to be the world we're going to be in a year from now. I mean, even looking back a year, the transition is staggering. So,
what was the gentleman's name? Hayden
Haydn.
Yeah.
Shaw.
Who was the guy that was in charge of Z Direct when it was still independent? Wasn't his name Hayden?
Hayes? No, Hayes.
No, that's Hayes Thomas.
Yeah. Hayes Thomas. Thank you. That's why. Okay.
I've got a great Hayes Thomas story.
A last name for first name and a first name for last name. That's how you remember.
I've got a great Hayes Thomas story. I had
does
never
it have
met
to do
him.
With Cuban cigars
or golf?
Yes, it does. As a matter of fact.
Most of his great stories have to do with Cuban
cigars. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm on the Queen Mary 2 on a 15-day cruise with my family. I think it was Queen Mary? Oh, no, it wasn't. It was on a celebrity cruise. Okay. Year before. And my wife runs into some woman at the pool and just talking, these guys are in the hotel, and I meet, you should go meet this guy. He does travel. She doesn't even know what he does, but somebody's husband on the cruise ship and stuff like that. I was like, okay, meet him in the cigar bar of, I think it was Celebrity, whatever sort of, or maybe it was a Queen Mary. I can't remember where we were. One of these cruise ships.
Is it relevant to the story? That's the only question we have. Is it relevant?
No, but it did have a cigar bar. It did have a cigar bar, so that's why I'm thinking it was a Queen Mary too. But I'm thinking it may have been the other one. But anyway, so I run in, to him, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, what do you do? Or, and became fast friends, bonded on the cruise.
He's
and
a very amicable man.
He's a very great guy.
And my emphysema, because of still
Hey,
giving me problems, but yeah.
okay. So, do we want to hit the stats stuff or the newsy stuff first? Which way you want to go with the start of this?
Oh, we can do this. We can do the stats stuff because I got better stats than STR. So,
well,
Dang.
Okay,
no,
all right.
I got my stats are based on STR stats.
Hey, I'm actually
well,
going to bow
Mr.
out
Robert?
for 2 seconds, guys. I just
All
have
right.
to take care of something.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Robert, go overhead and start throwing some stats.
Oh, go ahead. You teed up the monthly reporting.
No.
Reporting.
The U.S. report for March. Like I said, no, you take it. Take the stats stuff because you have better insights to it anyway.
Oh, okay. So I keep track of stats. I have since 2006. On a weekly basis. I don't go granular day by day, which I really should have, and I should go back and do that, but that's a lot of work. But anyway, I've been keeping track of weekly U.S. occupancy stats since 2006, and I don't really track it by months. I basically track it by quarters, and so it's a little bit different than that. But I've been basically looking at things like 12-month moving averages and year-to-date performance, quarter-to-date performance. So yeah, I think right now the stat for year-to-date, be it through April 15th, I guess, is that U.S. occupancy is up about 1.2%, which, quite frankly, is a little bit higher than I thought it would be in terms of year over year growth. So right now, yeah, that's right. I
generally everybody who's going international decided to stop, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know if it will necessarily hold, but right now it's doing okay. Now quarter to date is actually down like 0.4%, but we're only in a couple weeks, right? And you had the Easter effect and things. So yeah, don't have to necessarily consider that at this point. But yeah, it's about 62.3% occupancy. Last year was 61.6. But the most important aspect to look at is that this is the highest it's been over 2006 sort of thing. So I'm not sure in the early 2000s, maybe 2005 was higher, but I tend to doubt it because of 2001 being September 11th really started taking out 2002, 2003, 2004 things started to come back. So
yep.
Anyway, so this is a pretty strong first quarter occupancy. ADR is up about 2.4%. And again, that's a pretty strong number. A little bit that's holding up better than I thought. $123.86.
So I wonder, just real quick here. So yeah. I've been in multiple conversations with different hoteliers, kind of about last year and how we saw that it seemed like, because we're a vendor, so it seemed like last year a lot of people had gone quiet with responding to vendors up until the election. And then it's been like floodgates ever since. And I've had multiple people tell me that they had made it. This is really funny. I'm sorry. Tim Peter, Robert Cole. I'm glad to see you guys talked. Anyway, so I've had a lot of hoteliers and hotel groups tell me that they tightened up their marketing spend prior to the election. And so I'm almost wondering if some of the slowdown was self-inflicted. I mean, because if enough of the industry was holding back aggression in marketing, did we cause some of our own slowdown?
I would say probably not. What I really see is, well, here I'll go just for RevPAR. Just you factor in occupancy occupancy and an ADR, it winds up being up about 3.8%. Is what
Who are you
better?
talking to, Lauren? Is what better than what?
Actually, no, I was talking to Periscope. Sorry, I didn't mute my mic in time.
Okay, that's fine. 3.8%. Yeah, that is better, Lauren.
Yes, yes, Lauren. Up 3.8% is approximately 3.8% better.
Yeah. So that's not too bad. But RevPAR is at 77.41. So now, just as a point of reference, if you looked at RevPAR in 2009, which is after, or actually 2010, which was really the gulf after the global financial crisis, it was 50.61. So that's a pretty, that's better than 50% improvement on that. So,
So
my
Lauren,
point,
that's better.
that is better. So
by
my
approximately 51%.
Oh, by the way, for those of you who watch us, you may not recognize him, but Tim Peter has joined us.
That's right.
Tim was a early host of the show back in its earlier days, and
That's right.
unfortunately has become very successful in business and can't spare his Fridays anymore.
Right, exactly.
Well, it's
we
tough.
are
It's tough to be me. I gotta say.
And he's had to upgrade the security at his at his home because of the paparazzi, the groupies, that sort of thing. It's been a living hell for the guy.
Well, I will tell you, that's absolutely true. I mean, the security that we have outside the building now at Global HQ is crazy. It's very, very similar to what's going on at Trump Tower these days. It looks almost the same, really.
Exactly. So, anyway, nice stuff, Tim. Here. Anyway, here's my theory on what's going on. So I think if you look at 12-month moving averages, actually we hit not this past week because of the Easter effect, but for the first time, the 12-month moving average hit 66% occupancy 2 weeks ago, and that is an all-time high in the last 10 years that I've been tracking, or dozen years that I've been tracking tracking these stats. So what's happening is the industry is starting to hit kind of almost an occupancy ceiling, because structurally, once you start getting above that point, you have a lot of dates that are sold out. If you're a predominantly urban city property, and you're sold out over your peak dates, and same thing with resorts. So there's not a lot of upside. So that's where it's going now. What's interesting on the rate side is it continues to keep climbing, and it's the 12-month moving average there is about $123, and it just keeps ticking up. So that's really driving.
So the news is good.
Driving the change. Yeah. So the interesting thing is the industry is not doing poorly. It's profitable. It's performing well. The question is, where's their growth? Right. And there's just not a huge amount of growth, because the comps from the previous year and things are so high. So that's the interesting thing from the stock market and share percentage, which ties into a video that I highly recommend, but we don't have to go there quite yet. But it's interesting. So good, well-performing, solid businesses are great, but they just aren't quite that sexy to Wall Street. So that's kind of the big consternation for I think the industry.
I think the problem most traditional industries have now with Wall Street is there are companies just popping out and then quickly getting to scales that never previously existed, and not every sector is going to be able to accomplish that. That, like, just by nature, a hotel,
right?
Like even Marriott, like anyone who's huge in our industry is not going to get the type of expansiveness of daily interaction that some of these other sectors of the economy, the new stuff like Facebook and Google and all of that, and even Apple, I think those high watermarks are kind of making it tougher for traditional businesses to do well on the stock market, because there's this expectation of, in a bad year, if you're not growing by 20% in stock value, then you're not an interesting investment. And it's tough. I mean, like I look at like my own portfolio and the stuff I manage myself, which you can guess what that is. I mean, it's all those things outperformed and carried the rest of my portfolio by like a substantial amount, even though it was a smaller percentage of the overall investment.
And that's always been true to a certain degree. I mean, it's certainly true right now. I mean, I'm not a particularly active investor in the way that you are, and so I only speak to this from a broader perspective as opposed to any individual stocks. But I mean, this has been true. I worked for Charles Schwab during this .com boom, and if you're a $100 million company and you have to grow by 20%, you have to find $20 million more. If you're a $1 billion company, you have to find 200 million more, and if you're a $10 billion company, you have to find 2 billion more. One of those is much harder than the one that precedes it, and that one's much harder than the one that precedes that. So, when the market is chasing growth, as it does, that's a tougher road to hoe, right? Just by definition. So the larger companies, the more established companies, by definition, have challenges there that, a startup or a sexier tech play or something like that, they can show 50% growth, but where are you going to find, $5 billion of extra growth when you're already a $10 billion company?
Ask Amazon.
well, but that's one of those companies. This is what I'm saying. Traditional business, e-commerce or, communications businesses can't find that type of growth.
And to be fair, let's talk about where Amazon has found a lot of that growth. I mean, it's done things like AWS, right? It's done things that were not as a retailer, right? It has transformed. If you look at Amazon over the course of its history, it was a bookstore. It became a mass market retailer that became a platform for e-commerce, everything, right? So, I mean, I would heavily argue that Amazon is not the company it was 20 years ago when it started. I would heavily argue that Amazon isn't really in the industry it was in 20 years ago when it started.
No. Well, and with that, I've posted a link here on how Amazon is dismantling retail, which is about a 25-minute video from Scott Galway, the CEO of L2 Research, who I'm a huge fanboy of. I mean, the guy is freaking amazing. But he basically breaks down how Amazon is destroying the retail, and both retail is known for like malls and big stores, that sort of thing, but also brands. And it basically this is the total destruction of brands. So I just wanted to run through some of the key points from that video. I highly recommend you watch it because it's much more entertaining than me going through the points. But he makes really, really important points. First one is, and I think both Ed and Tim have echoed this at many occasions, that the product. He doesn't really say it this way, but the product is customer preferences and customer information. So the customer is the product, and the winners are basically Google and Amazon because they have the traffic, they have the eyeballs, and they have the data, and they're using it pretty effectively. And I look at this as a very good allegory to the travel industry and its disruption. It'll be a little bit different, I think. But
by the way, I don't want to
go ahead.
Your thread, but I do think there's a travel company who's kind of stealing the same playbook. We'll come back to them in a second because I want you to go through the points first. But,
okay, no, that's.
I'm gonna guess they're the one that I kind of went to town on the other day that had Holly going. I'll be interested to see who you think it is.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't catch the rant, but now I'm intrigued.
I'll give you guys a hint. It's timpeter.com.
Because he's got the content, the traffic, and the eyeballs.
Exactly.
Dude, don't give it away. We're in stealth mode. We're trying to stay below the radar, and unfortunately succeeding.
Most effective under the radar strategy I've ever seen.
Exactly. The most successful company that never left stealth mode.
No, you were going through the points, Robert. Go ahead.
That's right. Okay. So the second point was Amazon is at war with brands, except really hot independent brands. Like if you have something that's really new and cool and that's a valid brand. But to be important at Amazon, you have to either be hot like that, or you have to be a good brand with at an amazing price. And
I also have one point about that, but again, I don't want to.
Okay. Well, no. Galloway's thesis is that most big brands are neither. That basically brands traditionally commanded a premium. So you had a good product, probably a pretty good product, Tide detergent, but it sells at a premium to the other brands. So you're basically paying for that brand. And that's what he's fundamentally saying, is that's what Amazon is ripping apart. That they're taking all of their traffic in the interest of the customers and going, you don't need to spend extra for that brand, and taking down kind of the advertising industrial complex, going, you don't need to spend millions promoting this stuff.
Right.
We're going to pull out that margin and give it back, and we're going to take our cut as Amazon and give that back to the consumer.
But
Jeff Bezos' favorite quote is, "Your margin is my opportunity."
Exactly.
Yeah, but the big thing that I think is actually different about Amazon doing this versus when Walmart did this is, I think it's going to ultimately play out that Amazon brings back small boutique specialty business. Where Walmart killed it, Amazon is going to bring that back. And honestly, it's better for the U.S. economy, because it's going to have the cash flowing into the hands of the people that support local communities. I mean, it's completely what they're going to do. The days of the massive empire of big box are numbered, and we're seeing it. JCPenney, I mean, Sears,
he has a slide. He has a slide on the number of stores closing between Payless and Macy's. Here, these things, and then what he uses again as a comparison is the number of Amazon distribution centers opening, which are not really stores in the traditional of, hey, let's walk up to this. But his point is, that's going to be something pretty soon. At some point, Amazon's going to go, we've got this, we've got these warehouses, and following Galloway for a few years now. That's what his point was before, was that guys like Macy's had to figure out, we've got these warehouses all over the place and they didn't quite get it.
But I like the movement. I think it's great. I'd love nothing more than to see Walmart disappear from most communities.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to see that hole filled with Amazon and small businesses.
Yeah. Starbucks, the same thing for small coffee shops and things like that.
Oh, and now here's I'm going to make the second point I was going to make when you were talking about hot brands. So I do some work in retail. I don't do a lot of work in retail, but I do a little work in retail. And independent bookstores.
My wife tries to do a lot of work to support the retail industry.
To be fair, I do my share all by myself.
Me too. Different product categories, but I cover my area, she covers hers. So.
Yeah, exactly. But independent bookstores grew in 2016 by overall, right? Sales volume growth was up 6.8%. Retail as a category last year was up by 4%. So, but for a bunch of reasons, right? And this is something that the hospitality industry can absolutely learn from, because these independents are doing very well by creating great experiences and creating great service. And it's less about the product, and it's much more about what is the experience and what are all the things you wrap around that make that a worthwhile place to go. Take a Sears, right? Just out of curiosity, I realize this is a very small focus group before, and we have, we're a little self-selected, to put it mildly.
It's a bit of an echo chamber here.
Yeah, a little bit of an echo chamber. But when was the last time any of you were in a Sears?
I was in a Sears about a month ago, and I actually purchased something there.
I was in one because it was right outside this indoor playground that my kids were playing at, and I was looking for a new pillow, but I didn't buy one from them because everything they had was pretty low quality.
Okay. The Sears that I walked through for doing that about a month ago had pillows on sale for 97 cents.
and they were pretty low quality.
I think they were pretty
I
low
had
quality, but I
about
don't
2 years
remember
ago.
seeing anything on sale with a big sign for 97 cents at a
Now, Robert, you
department
bought
store
something.
like that.
You might be the outlier in this one, Ed. I'm
But
going to.
I
Hold on,
I
hold on.
bought some. I basically bought a couple of 2 curtain rods, just simply because and they weren't for some
But
high
did you-
profile fancy anything.
But did
They
you
were
go
really
there
cheap.
to go to Sears? Right? Did anything about the fact that it was Sears draw you in, or was it maybe I could get a curtain rod there?
That was exactly why we did. And you know what? To go get a curtain rod off of Amazon or something, it's kind of like, you kind of want to see it, look at, what's this thing? Yeah.
Right.
Look like, and it was easy. But the store was, it is so sad to go through some of
they're
these.
depressing.
It's actually very interesting because living in Dallas, you've got North Park Mall, which is a vibrant mall. Very high end, has been well established for decades. An amazing rotating art collection from the Nashers who own the mall.
Mhm.
Big time art collectors. Very busy, high travel, one of the most successful malls probably in the U.S. Relatively full, high end stores. Nordstrom's, Neiman's, all that sort of stuff. And then you have the Irving Mall, which is out closer to where I live, which is really, really rough. Now they still have there's a Sears there, and I don't think there's a Penny, but like a Burlington, I think probably the Pennies or the Dillards or whatever has been replaced by a Burlington Coat Factory. Another major store, which I think for a time was a Macy's, has been completely shuttered off and is gone. Right, sort of thing. So it's
and
amazing.
I think the large brands, the large chains, right, in hospitality, run the risk of becoming Sears.
Right.
Well, that's the thing.
Right?
And that's
but you can easily be the independent bookstore in this scenario where you're outpacing the industry if you're focusing on
Series.
Well,
I think
a reason to want to go there.
The big change in consumer behavior that we can look at here, and it's not just happening with Amazon, it's happening in other parts of our life, is big brands are slayed easily because they are haunted by their infrastructure. They're haunted by their history.
By their culture.
By their culture. And then someone comes in and chips away at periphery and then goes, oh, you're done. And quite honestly, it's actually, if you really look at it, what's happening as of late in our industry is this consolidation. I actually think these consolidations could be setting themselves up to be easily dismantled. And this is a real risk because, it's the biggest merger, so we'll pick on it. But the Marriott-Starwood merger, with Marriott not taking Starwood's tech stack, I actually think it'll go down as a case history of why Marriott was able to be pulled apart by whatever technology player is going to win in this space.
I'd like to chime in on some of this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Lauren. Yeah, please.
Lawrence,
first, I agree with you on the Sears and the Marriott analogy to it by all stretch. Yeah. Going historical for a little bit, back in World War II, the pilots that were being successful on both sides of the campaign between Japan and the United States, there was not case study, but a reference to the fact that the reason why U.S. gained air superiority other than eventual technology increases was that as soon as somebody became successful as a pilot, they were taken off the front line and brought behind to train other pilots. Where in Japan, they were left on the front line to eventually statistically die. And so they were never able to refurbish their education structure as to being good at what they did. And even with they started with superior technology, they ended up with inferior technology. They never took it. They were never able to lead that advantage. So it kind of adds a little bit to what you're saying, Ed. But I'd also add to the fact that with these mergers and acquisitions, we're taking the most talented, skilled people in the field that have succeeded in their jobs and yanked them out of it, whether they were qualified to be something different or not, and pushed them into the machine of education and trying to repeat what they did with other people that aren't the same genre of people or personalities of people. And I have to laugh because you see that TV show that's mimicking Walmart, the Blue Cloud or whatever it's called, where they're making fun of the work environment of working in these big box retail stores.
I know the show.
And they've severely dumbed down people. I don't think people are really that ignorant, but they've they've made it comical by being so dumbed down.
Sure.
But in some strange analogy, it is kind of that where most of these large companies like Marriott and so forth are trying to take and educate people to a error-free zone. If you follow the guidelines and the books and the instructions we give you, you will be a successful customer engagement person. And that's total BS.
Right.
And that's where, to Ed, your point, the small businesses will win because there is personality. The person that opened their own business is good at that, and they're not going to go anywhere else. They're going to keep being good at it and try to get better.
The one thing I would say that Marriott has that might help them here, though, and most people talk about this as a negative. I actually think it is a potential positive. Right? I don't know that it is positive, but it's one place where they might help themselves. It is a place where having 30 brands, I think, is a plus because it allows them a lot of room to experiment and say, you know what, we're going to differentiate. If they do it correctly, we're going to differentiate the product so that this is a type of thing.
But do you see after the reason they were able to get Starwood, do you see them going to Wall Street like Jeff Bezos would and saying, listen, earnings are going to be horrible for the next 2 years. Deal with it. Do you see them doing what Elon Musk just recently did to the activist investors that were demanding that his board get diversified? And he just said, go invest in Ford.
Right.
I don't.
No, I don't.
So that's the thing is I think the problem that makes them a target, and I'm not saying it's the end, right? But if we use history of other heavily disrupted sectors, the giants are the ones who are the easiest to take down.
I'm going to challenge that, though, Ed. I'm going to challenge that.
I'm not saying they go out, but they're
no. I
understand. Play easily.
I understand, but I think that the place where I would push back on that, I completely understand what you're saying. I completely understand. There's a lot of this we agree on. Where we disagree, it's a nuance, right?
Okay.
I think there's a lot more consolidation to come, and I think the folks who are going to fall first are going to be those people who are in the middle, right?
Always, because it's always the middle. The air gets sucked out of the middle first.
The air gets sucked out of the middle, and I think so. We're a ways. I mean, if you look at the airline industry and the consolidation in the airline industry, we now essentially have 3 airlines, really, right? You basically have American, United, and
Delta. And Southwest. So therefore.
Okay, so they're 4, right?
Right, because Southwest, their new slogan, we beat our competitors, not our travelers.
Right. Right. But okay, so you have 4, essentially. And you have some smaller regional players and things along those lines. But all the other big guys got folded into American and United and Delta, right? And to a lesser degree, Southwest. And I think we're still in that phase in hospitality where, Marriott Starwood's going to buy some more stuff, and I don't know who. I'm not going to make predictions.
It's not end of days by any means.
And it's not Marriott Starwood.
Somebody else are going to roll into IHG Hyatt is going to become a thing. That's not a prediction. That's just a assumption of something like that.
That just makes sense.
It just makes sense, right? Exactly, right. Yeah. And you can insert whoever you want for IHG. But that's the thing.
It's not Marriott Starwood. It is Marriott. Starwood is. Poof.
Yeah, Starwood's gone.
There was nothing about Starwood. Actually, last night I was in an event. I won't say which event it was, but it was at a Loft Element combined hotel.
I
have to remind people an Element was a Starwood brand, now a Marriott brand. Would anyone care to describe what an Element is and what
lower end and a loft?
Honestly, not a clue.
It's lower end than a loft.
No, not really. It's a long-term stay, residence in style, sustainable product. But this particular hotel, which is near Dallas Love Field, has a common entrance with 2 separate lobbies. I mean, you literally walk in the one sliding door. On the right is the Element. On the left is the Aloft, and the Aloft has kind of the polished, concrete floor. The pool table has a bar. They had a little robot, little mini robot that will take you stuff, which is just a complete, has absolutely no utility.
Sounds like a gimmick.
It is a gimmick, yes. So, although the general manager of the property didn't like me when I started saying, it's going to be really cool when it adds
general manager of which property? Two.
Both, because that's why they do
Does that GM get paid double?
Yeah, right.
No, they don't. And
Right.
they don't have double the staff or the accounting team or the sales team. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's gonna run.
but it's the same thing. I mean, Marriott did that with the JW Marriott at
Right.
LA Live, right? Has a courtyard in JW Marriott where traditionally you could say,
God,
wait, it's the
those are
same
like
guy.
Two,
no,
like,
with
complete
one lobby,
opposite
but
ends.
single door, single lobby on that one, right? And it's just
Like,
the floors.
Is the courtyard elevator like all dark and dreary and sad looking? Like, oh, I have to go over to this one.
No. Well, no,
No
and-
JW for me.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's the ridiculous part about it to me, because you just go, gee, back in the olden days when I started in the hotel industry, that would be, oh, you've got moderate, superior, deluxe rooms
Yes,
and
this
suites.
cave over here
Yeah.
is slightly more comfortable than this cave over
Well,
here.
but
Robert
was-
Cole's first job.
But what was yeah, exactly. We didn't have caves then because we didn't have tools, Ed.
Because the water hasn't yet
receded.
pierced the stone enough.
Yeah, exactly. we just had those, the bones. Remember back in 2001 when they were throwing them up when we saw that big black thing?
And you
That
just
was
stood.
it.
You just stood under them while they were floating
And
in
yelled and yelled.
the air.
See, a lot of people are confused, and they think when Robert talks about Four Seasons, they think it's like, Four Seasons, the luxury brand. No, he actually worked for these caves that witnessed all 4 seasons of the year.
No,
Well,
it was the Myrtle. It was the Four
on the
Seasons
first day,
Motel.
they created, the heavens
No.
and the earth, and on the
Right.
second day, Robert hung out a vacancy sign.
It was the
Right.
Four Seasons. It was the Four Seasons Motel in Myrtle Beach,
Yeah.
which actually I believe there was, and
So-
there was actually a trademark issue there.
So to
that
cycle
wound
us
up getting
back
worked out.
to, the interesting conversation that people probably thought was valuable until we just all got stupid.
Digressed.
Nicely done. Ed.
Oh, wait,
yes.
hang on.
Oh,
Before
wait.
we digress from that, while we are digressed, the conversation with the general manager.
Oh, right.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
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 So I asked how the two properties were doing, and she kind of hedged, like, is one doing better than the other, or how's this? And she didn't really elaborate on that, but she did say, since they were priced, this was a little 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, conversation type thing. She said, well, quite honestly, because they're priced exactly the same,
Oh,
that
my
she
God.
would rather stay in the Element and then come out. And people do now that they've figured it out, that know the property, they'll stay in the Element because they get a better room, has a little kitchenette type thing, and it's a bigger, nicer room, and then you hang out in the Aloft bar and things like that. So you're taking the guests, which are supposed to skew
So it's an
older,
aloft
to
dimension?
Element. Yeah, well, no, but I mean, you look at these, and
It's
I'm
an
sitting
elephant?
there.
Well,
Yeah.
but here's the crazier thing. There was an announcement I was just reading about a Westin Element.
Oh no, it's Element by Westin. That is,
Right.
it actually says by Westin, as though Westin's going to make people go, oh,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
But
it
here's the
doesn't
funny
tell-
thing about like these mixed hotel levels. Do you know why luxury hotels are more expensive than budget hotels?
Yes, I do.
The cost of the real estate and the cost of the building. So if you build,
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
listen, you tell me that Four Seasons are built on the same cost of dirt that an Element is built on.
in many
Yeah,
cases.
In many cases,
really.
they are. Yeah.
Sure.
That's
Well,
insane.
unless they
cost
acquire
per
a palace or something like that.
Cost
Yeah.
per key is going to be different, in terms of
Right.
amenities and
Right.
all that kind of stuff.
Right, because then the build out and all of that.
Cost of service is a much, in terms of overall OPEX and in terms of overall cost of running the place, over its payback period. Cost of service is gonna be a huge chunk of that.
Yeah, I look at these mix modes and I say, like, brands that are too close in price, I don't see how you can differentiate them
Right.
enough when they're on the same piece of dirt, connected to each other, sharing services.
Yeah,
Well,
but
and I'm
you
going
can
to tell you my
convert. You
favorite
can,
definition of. I'm going to tell you my favorite definition of differentiation. I think the place where people screw this up all the time is we use the word differentiation when we mean difference, and instead, differentiation is a difference that someone will pay for.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
if they won't pay different price for it, you're not differentiated. You're just
Right.
different.
You just have different rooms.
You just have different rooms and everything else, right?
Well,
Yeah.
but you can be differentiated, and you can be really stupid with your revenue management, be much better, and sell it for a lower price and be very successful.
Like we have a JW Ritz combo here.
Yeah.
Like, quite honestly, is there enough of a difference between JW and Ritz to need to fly both flags?
Right.
I have a question about that. I don't know the answer to that, Ed. I will be very honest about this. I've never stayed in a JW Marriott in my life. I've stayed in Ritz Carltons. I don't know the JW brand well. Right? No, I don't have no personal experience with it. The question I would have is if there is that doesn't trouble me as much as this aloft element, right? Because if there is a service standard for each of those that they can deliver on consistently, and there are customers who have an affinity for I like what JW does versus I like what Ritz does, I can see that in theory. I don't know about it in fact. But at least you're saying.
I kind of have a feeling when the brands
just real quick, it's kind of like if I get the the mileage card that gives me club access versus I get the mileage card that gives me double points. I get a different, but essentially they're the same card. They're offered by the same bank. They're on the same airline, but I'm now choosing my specific amenity. I can see that conceptually. I don't know that it works in practice. Whereas
that's
high
really
low,
I'm wondering
is
like, could they not have built the whole complex as a JW, and the people who would be brand solid to Ritz would go, oh, there's not a Ritz in this market. Oh, there's a JW. I'll stay there.
Yeah,
that's the part I don't know.
Are they actually separate? Are they separate buildings or one building?
They're separate.
Building,
they're separate.
Separate building.
Yeah, but they're the same complex. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like
I've been there. I think I've been to conferences. Was the JW? It was something before that. I think.
No, this was built.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, like it's in the middle of kind of nowhere.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to Ritz. I've been to a conference there at the Ritz. I guess I just wasn't aware of I knew there was.
You weren't aware that there were two flags on this property?
No. I was aware that there was something else there that was a good event. I probably thought it was a regular Marriott or something. But, it's interesting. A lot of these deals get done that way though, because it's that just having the Ritz might not have enough keys and be large enough to support it and things like that. And they need more. And they're like, well, if it's just a JW, that might not do it. And we can, get a higher ADR if we do this. And there's a lot of stuff like that. And Marriott was the master of this. I mean, the numbers of courtyards clustered with a Residence Inn, because it works pretty well. And what's interesting is my personal opinion is it actually kind of lowers the ADR of the Residence Inn because there isn't enough necessarily long-term stay business. But it's also Courtyard. I shouldn't say Courtyard has a problem, but Courtyard has been such a successful brand. In many cases, gets the same ADR as a regular full-service Marriott.
It's my favorite of the Marriott brands is Courtyard.
Yeah,
I will stay at a Courtyard before all of Marriott's other offerings.
Right, and so in that
I feel
case,
the same way about Hilton Garden Inn, by the way. Almost.
Yeah. So similar. Yeah. Well, and a Garden Inn was a knockoff of a Courtyard.
Yeah.
and
it's a really good knockoff.
And the clustering of the aloft, with the Element is supposed to be more a lifestyle turn on a Courtyard Residence Inn thing. I mean, that's purely what Starwood was doing in terms of their branding. So
if we can go back to the Amazon thing for 1 second, because I'd love to say who I think the people stealing the playbook in the travel industry are.
Yes,
please. I think it's Accor.
Oh no!
I definitely think.
I think they're trying to.
I think they're trying to. I'm not suggesting they're succeeding. I'm not suggesting they will succeed. I'm suggesting that is the playbook going for. Right? They went from being we're a hotel company to they're starting to say we're a platform. Right? They're starting to say here's the services we're making available to independent hotels. Here's the ways we can help you do what you want to do and stay independent and the like. So I think they're looking at that same platform, that same approach.
Yeah, I think they're making a play for it, but
I don't know that they'll succeed. It's tough to
lower fee levels. Yeah, at lower fee levels than the brands, which is the same thing that soft brands are doing. You get almost all of the important main stuff, except for maybe national sales, or depending on how that all sorts out.
I think it's
for
TripAdvisor.
much lower.
I think TripAdvisor's toast.
Nope, I don't think so.
By the way, I love TripAdvisor. I think it is the most undervalued brand in the travel sector by far.
Yep.
I think they are hosed.
See, the thing is they're playing the playbook, because don't forget, along Amazon's journey, there were many people who said Amazon was hosed.
Yep.
But what did Amazon have? They had the content, they had the footprint, they had the infrastructure.
Right.
What does TripAdvisor have? More so than anyone else. The 500 million reviews, which by hit that mark.
Oh, no. They've got the content. They don't have necessarily the infrastructure, and their problem is and this is my next point on the Amazon thing, their leash from Wall Street is so tight around their neck.
Bingo. Right, because the big problem... Go ahead, Robert. Go ahead. I want to say one quick thing.
They don't have room to breathe right now. And I consider Steve Koffer the smartest guy in the travel industry. Sorry, Ed, but
I agree. Listen, listen. And so, Tim, you missed it, but my rant on them was how much they've fooled the hotels.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
How they basically shifted like this fear that you have to have reviews on your site that like hammer you, when it's really no, they don't need to hammer you. It's good to show some challenge, because then it's just like the Matrix.
Adds authenticity and
any
all
of
that.
you who watched the Matrix, the first few Matrixes failed because it was too perfect.
Right.
You need to have a little bit of ugliness in there.
That's good.
I'm not the only one that brings in TV movie analogies. That
was specifically for you, Lauren.
Thank you.
That was good.
The problem for TripAdvisor specifically in this Amazon comparison is that when Amazon was struggling 15 years ago, 10 years ago, etc., they didn't have to compete with Amazon.
Right.
When TripAdvisor is struggling, they do have to compete with Expedia. They do have to compete with Booking. And the leash that Wall Street has on them is going to strangle them, because they're not going to. I want to be really clear. They're not going to fail. They're not going to go out of business.
No, they're going to be acquired
They're going to be acquired. Correct.
Right. But
but that's why I think they're hosed.
Acquires them has the making to be the Amazon. So if that's Priceline, as it's widely believed, will be
Priceline.
Right, I mean,
and I think Priceline gets them. Priceline's waiting for the price to go for the share price. I think Priceline's waiting for them to have them miss another quarter. And then
I had this conversation with Ed yesterday or the day before, and then I was talking to somebody else. I'll keep them nameless because this analogy is going to not reflect probably positively. And they said that they consider TripAdvisor like the difference between the nice young girl that's taking care of grandpa to now turning into a gold digger. They turned a little too fast to make money too quickly, and they went from being nice and helpful to the consumer to how much money can we get while we have the details to get it. So
and that's the problem, and that the leash is what did that to them. Because up until the time that they actually had to go, oh, by the way, here's the hint to our evil plan. They pulled it out too early.
Yeah, and they had to.
They had to because they had to monetize. Yep.
The shift to instant booking, I think was a very smart move, but it didn't lay out their plan. Weirdly, the wrench in their plan, I think, really weirdly, was the spinoff from Expedia. So I don't know when instant booking was starting to get planned, right? But okay, they're owned by Expedia. They spin off independently. They're working on Trip Connect pretty aggressively, which was, again, very smart. Let's do all the plumbing, right? And Lou did a fantastic job with that stuff. So they get the plumbing laid out, and then they go, okay, now we're going to go to this bid-based CPA approach, which is, nobody else really doing.
Right.
Differentiates them, easy for the hotels to work with.
Yep.
Yeah. 6% floor. Everybody can work with that. So let's go. And then all of a sudden, Expedia goes, nah. And it's like, wait, hey guys, Dad, what why are you leaving? Sort of thing. And and all of a sudden that stopped because then they had an imperfect marketplace.
Which, if you think about it, they were just following Facebook's path to monetization.
Yeah.
You know, like Facebook ads, probably the easiest ad network to use. It's far less cost than the alternatives. Has a ton of data that you get out of it. Like, there's just a lot of upside. So that's what TripAdvisor, I mean, just look, they were executing on plans of the most successful disruptive companies. Collect the content, get the footprint, you know, infuse yourself in the consumer's decision path. That's all Amazon. Then with what they were doing, you know, with the bid-based system is, you know, oh, look at how Facebook transitioned. Like, their problem is they had to then go too quick, and the public of our industry got to see how the brands, all the big players, really had no choice but to get on.
That's right.
And that then went, oh, they have already too much power. Like, so
well, no, and they had this disruption going from CPC to CPA where their margins eroded. So all these guys are going, you cannibalized your margins, you idiot, and we're going to punish you. And that's getting back to Amazon. That's the next point.
But I think executed well by whoever takes them private. They're the most likely of the existing players to be able to take the Amazon type kill the big brand approach. Because who do you trust? Let me just ask you this. If you're looking for information, who do you trust more as a good source for information, TripAdvisor or Marriott?
Right.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's TripAdvisor. Right? Yeah, and all these brands, you look at Hotwire, they put TripAdvisor, boom.
Foolishly.
But I think, hey, and the Expedia guys aren't stupid, and they've got a lot of reviews from everything within the Expedia network. I mean, they got tons of reviews, but they didn't. If Expedia didn't come up with their own little, here's what Expedia says, you know, sort of thing, and here's the rating, and they're using Amazon, and you know they worked on that, right? I mean, that isn't something just Skip Dara's thought process on this or his teams or John Kim or one of those guys. You know, they were all over it. We went, doesn't work. This converts better. Put the damn thing on there. Let's go. But then they went, but let's not really hop in instant booking and really help them churn along. But we'll see. I think, you know, now Priceline's market cap is getting close to 80 billion. I mean, it's astounding. And TripAdvisor's is down like what?
I think
something like that. I
think one of the challenges that is sneaking up quickly on Priceline is this Booking.com cancellation issue.
Yeah.
Like I'm now hearing it almost every other conversation I have with a hotel.
Oh, and it's been like that for years. I mean,
no, but I think it's getting to a point where it's like really annoying people.
Well, let me give you a great example of the dynamics of the travel and where things are going. Okay, and Tim will be able to chime in on Charleston, right? So, a market he knows,
and perhaps others.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you had other areas you knew about.
Tim, you're not one of the smartest people he's ever met in the industry, so let's not think that.
Oh, no,
but the smartest guy I know about Charleston.
Keep it in your lane, all right? Keep it in your lane. That's it.
But just the historic area, not the suburbs or anything.
Right.
So, no, but anyway, we're going. A best friend of my daughter is getting married in Charleston in September on a weekend, which is a pretty busy. Yeah,
very
good
busy time of year.
Very busy
Tim,
time.
just be glad you've missed the last 3 shows because this is the 3rd time we're hearing this story.
Oh no, because we have new developments. We have new developments on this story. So, what I did is I booked on Booking.com a cancelable reservation at the Barksdale House, right? Which we might as well say that. I mean, it's a 3-star, kind of bed and breakfast inn type thing. Nice. What?
You should have come and talked to me. I could make you a deal.
You were sold out.
But I still, your guys were, I think, we're sold out. So
yeah, we were.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's fine because everything's really expensive. You know, I've got it for like $200 a night or something like that. So I told my daughter, hey, you should go out and go. Well, she didn't really do that, but. And she's kind of waiting around trying to figure out what she's going to do. That's fine. So they're in and now they're set. Well, she went through Hotwire because she's learned from me that you secure the room on the main, thing that's cancelable and then go hunting for deals, right? And so she saw
By
something
the way, I'd
that
like
was
to point out to all the hoteliers who are watching this right now, I'd like to say
Robert Cole.
Robert Cole.
Robert
is
King.
the devil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Robert
Rock
Cole's
Cheetah.
the devil. I booked
I'm-
the room. But go ahead, Robert. Please
Yeah.
tell us more
Yeah,
about how
that's
you took
fine.
money out
I
of our
multi-book
No.
and cancel a variety of them, but then therapy tells me I should do that. So
I behave, and I was conflicted and in therapy for a long time about it. But then I finally said, no, I'm going to behave like a consumer, damn it. So,
All right. Well, there you go. All right, go on.
so anyway, my daughter goes and books and finds something on Hotwire, right? And the Barksdale, the rates have been going up. She books, gets about a $200 rate because everything else is kind of elevated. Gets the Barksdale house, same one. So, and that seems to be what people can do with this whole
Right.
cancellation thing. You keep your options open. You lock in something
here's the
that's
thing, so I
it
was
used to be
just-
book early and get a low rate, right?
Right.
Because if
Now
you
it's-
committed early,
Now
and
it's
so you hang
secure
on to that.
early, book
Secure
late.
early. Yeah,
But
book
here's the
late
thing.
and
So
you're
I was
training
just
bad
talking
behavior.
to a hotel that's here in Orlando, who was bringing up the Booking.com issue, and it became such an issue for them. 68% cancellation rate, that they just decided to not work with Booking.com and do an exclusive with Expedia.
Wow.
Because
Yeah,
Booking.com,
I'll be honest with you too. And then the revenue working that we're doing, we're factoring in now cancellation percentages on channel and determining
Mhm.
value proposition of dollar spend versus actualization, not
Right.
bookings. Instead of looking at the top line generation, knowing that there's a loss, looking at the real bottom line, what it actually comes down to, what is actually coming through. But again, I mean, when it comes to this process, consumers are only following it's like water. They're following the least path, the resistance. with the
no,
most
but
opportunity.
what I'm saying is the problem that I see for Priceline for Booking is if they continue to be inflexible in their willingness to allow some form of like reasonable cancellation policy, they may find more and more hotels. Because listen, when you're only talking about cutting one stream of the fire hose, and I actually think it'll exacerbate the issue for the hotels remaining on it. Like, because if there's less choices on Booking.com as the safety hold,
right,
then are you better off just being on the other sites to be found to be the one who wins the reservation ultimately and not get the cancellation?
That's right.
Yeah, but booking has always allowed the hotels to you could do prepay required, and you can have cancellation terms, things like that. It's just now that everything, the little green free cancellation type thing, and as a filter, has become a train.
As one of the other articles says, situations are much more complicated than they're made out to be. So the other article about how, even though the rate parity thing went away, hotels are still doing rate parity. Well, yes, because it's not in your contract, but if you're not favorable or profitable for the person selling you, you're not going to be put up front. You're now the fallback if they run out of inventory.
That's right.
And so this is the same exact thing. So Booking.com appeasing it by saying, you can do it, but you're just not going to get the thing that makes the consumers book.
Right.
But here's the thing is Booking.com really a value if a large amount of the reservations they make for you actually put you in a position to potentially not be able to sell the rooms that you thought you sold? Because
the impact will be start creating oversell situations. I mean, because you're going to go over and have to margin yourself out, that you're going to have to oversell yourself, even giving inventory out on platforms just to maintain the cancellation losses.
Right.
So,
and then when you overbook, you're going to have to drag people out of the rooms.
Out through the lobby, man. Out through the lobby.
Not before hitting their head on something.
Right. Exactly. You want to hit their head on the door frame when you're dragging them out of the room.
Robert, I either got to thank you or get worried about this. This is the second time we've taken your topic list, and I take crib notes for minutes by minutes on this stuff. And usually by now I have like 30 or 40 minute transitions on conversations. I have 5. Either too long of a storyline going on, or we ain't hitting enough topics, or we're really getting good at talking about the detail. But I got 5 transitions of content.
Now, I will say,
hang on
to this, our live viewership has dropped substantially.
So you're saying maybe we need to change topics a little more?
That's what I do.
A little bit more frequently than them killing the dead horse.
Rather than beating the horse to a fine dust, maybe we should
Okay,
Like
so,
bring back a herd of
so
horses.
I mean, right now in the
back
list
to
of
Amazon. Back
two
to
things
Amazon.
out of 10, and I got 10 on top of that.
No, two additional points. Actually, 3 additional points. I'll go
Oh,
quick.
so only 45 more minutes.
No, because no,
Good.
we already discussed one of them pretty much, which was Bezos and Amazon have this incredibly low cost of capital because he's trained Wall Street to say profits aren't important. Look at this growth. And the joke that Galloway actually uses is that every time Amazon makes too much money in a quarter, he comes down and yells at his team and goes, damn it, why aren't we spending more money disrupting some other sector in here where we can get the growth and really establish this foothold, right? So that's one. So they have this the opposite of TripAdvisor. They have this very cheap capital where they're just like, go do it. We don't care if you make money, run. And TripAdvisor, if they had that, could certainly become the evil, take over the world. The other thing was the differentiation between algorithms and partnerships. He said all of these brand relationships and retail things were all built on partnerships. This is our supply chain and this is our partner. Here's how you do all this stuff. He goes, the algorithm decides what's best for 2 things, the consumer and the intermediary. And that's it. And screw the suppliers, screw the partners. That's it. And I think that's the one that really needs to resonate with the hotel industry, because it's the power of that channel and the platform to go. And exactly what we just said about, the sort order. It's like, hey, you're a shitty partner. Why should we put you at the top of our list and sell your stuff? We'll sell you when we have to, or it's most profitable to us. Right. So, screw you. So, and then the last one was the death of brand has a voice, or has a name, voice. So his point was, and he had some examples. One didn't work out quite the same way, but Amazon's playing around with the Echo, where if you start ordering by voice, the price is lower than if you go on Amazon.com. Right. So they are positively rewarding that behavior.
Well, not just that, they're also giving you gift cards.
Yes. Oh yeah, they're doing.
I unplug mine so I'm not spied on. You need to disclose to me when you're having me spied on by Amazon.
This is all in headphones, so don't worry about it. It's all good.
Exactly. So that's number
one.
By
the way, unplug mine. I've got 3 of them. I'm trying to figure out where I can put more in the house.
Oh my God, you're just being you're now metadata somewhere. Like they know everything about you. They know what decisions you're going to make. Actually, you're soon to be arrested for some crime that you're algorithmically likely to commit in 42 years.
And that's okay, man.
But you're going to be arrested now for it.
Exactly. It's the pre-crime division.
Yep.
Yep. Minority Report.
Yes, because Amazon's the only one we have to worry about in that space. You
can shut yours off on this device. The whole purpose of the Amazon device is for it to listen to you. I have Siri shut off on all of my Apple devices.
All right. Well, that's I live in the future, man, but you go ahead and stay in 2015. It's okay.
Yeah. Tim's saying
voice is not the future. It's not.
Voice is a
transitional UI alternative.
Neural implant.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, but that's a ways out.
But here's the thing. Like, voice is the mouse of the future. Oh wait, I don't use a mouse anymore.
Right, but hold on. Let's think about that.
It's good enough because the rest of tech hasn't caught up.
Oh my God, Ed! You must be joking.
Fight!
I'm now just saying things to like prod you.
Oh my God!
I mean, honestly, yes. Voice is a big deal. No question, and it will kill brands that don't have the ability to add immense value. So commoditized areas of our economy are just going to get slayed by voice. When you don't care, like I want a tasty donut being sent to you.
Right. Right. Well, but there are going to be people who say buy Tide
for a while.
I mean, for a long while. For a
This
long
is-
while, if you can differentiate your brand. See, here's the thing. This is where brand goes back to what it has always been, in the best possible sense of why the first brand, the first real brand in a mass market sense was Ivory soap.
Mhm.
Okay, late 1800s, early 1900s was Ivory soap. Up until that point, you bought soap. You went to the general store and you bought soap. And they had a big chunk of soap.
I
and the guy would
remember.
Saw off a piece. Okay, so Robert remembers. This is good. And basically, the brand was what differentiated it, right? What differentiated it? What made it better? What made it better that I was willing to pay more for?
It floated.
It floated. Well, that was their sign. That
It must be a witch.
It must be a witch. Burn
What
it.
What else floats? Very small pebbles. Anyway, if you can do a good job differentiating your brand, if where voice is here's the theoretical nightmare scenario if you're a hotel, right? 10 years in the future, I don't know what the number is. It doesn't matter. I always fall back on the old Bill Gates line that, we always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years, and we always underestimate the change that will happen in the next 10. Okay? So I'm going to use 10 as the outlier. I don't know where the actual number is. But the nightmare scenario is you're going to come out of the airport without a reservation, and you're going to get into the Google self-driving car, and you're going to say, okay, Google, take me to the best hotel in town.
Mhm.
And it will know enough about your preferences to say, oh, you mean the best hotel within this price range or within whatever your corporate
Oh, you're Robert
policy.
Cole. You mean the cheapest hotel in town?
Correct. Right. But it will take you to the best
Value
hotel.
for the cheapest.
That's the nightmare scenario, right?
Yeah.
That's the nightmare scenario.
Yep.
If you're not differentiated enough
Right.
for the person to
Right.
get into the self-driving car and say,
And guess
okay,
who that's
Google,
the biggest
take
nightmare
me
for?
take me to the Wentworth Mansion, or take me
Right.
to the Hotel Kirkwood, or take me to
Yeah.
right the Thief.
Other Tim
Yeah.
Peter hotels.
Other Tim Peter clients, exactly right. But I
So
mean,
this was
but that
the
is
point I
where
was
you.
gonna
That's
make
why you
about-
have to be differentiated, and I don't think voice will kill brands.
And you know
I
what
think what
kind of
voice will kill
marketing?
people who are not differentiated.
All right, boys and boys, do we know what kind of marketing you have to do to win in that?
Well,
I can take it back.
Discounting?
I'm waiting.
It's not discounting.
I'm waiting for.
Oh, that's what all the hoteliers say.
It's a type of marketing called content marketing. It's
Content
very
marketing.
top of funnel. It's very focused on adding value.
That's right.
And it will be far more effective than paid advertising and all of that stuff if voice wins. Because how do you win when it's not, oh my God, I'm in my last minute decision. Let me see what just happens to be in front of me. It's when you know what you want. And how do you make sure consumers know what they want? You help educate them to understand what they want. So Ivory soap, you know what really caused them to grow a ton? Was all of their marketing efforts on proving to us that we
sure.
need to shower daily because we're filthy, filthy animals.
That's right. That's right.
Even though science has said it's actually bad for you to shower daily, which I still shower daily because I can't just go against that content marketing.
Well, and I'm gonna.
That was actually
get
a
your
rule
bingo
put
card
down by
ready.
the family, but that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Get your bingo cards ready. So this is an article I wrote recently. This is something I've been talking about for the last couple of years, but this is something that I've been talking about in terms of content is king, customer experience is queen, and data is the crown jewels. And they all have to play together for you to actually own the customer every step of the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And TimPeter.com
This is
the
actually
Joker.
this is actually Technology.com in this.
Oh.
Which is
Which is another Tim Peter brand.
it isn't actually just as a partner of mine.
Well,
But
okay,
this is
but-
so. This is why I actually wanted to talk about the voice thing, is because hotels need to understand if voice becomes prevalent in travel,
Yeah.
then you will have to completely reinvent your spending habits on how you reach consumers, and you're also going to have to adopt an understanding of how to take someone from very top of funnel down to where you're currently
right.
marketing to them.
Actually, I want
And-
to again, Ned. When we disagree in the nuance, right? Because because I agree with what you said entirely, except for one word, which was, or one
Except
set
for
of
your
words.
conclusion.
No, you said what you're going to have to do.
Well, they should be doing it now.
Right, because if you don't have great content, you don't win in search. And if you don't have great content, you don't win in social right now, period.
Right.
Yep.
Content is king for a reason. And it's the
When I
reason
was-
is because people go to search and people go to social, and if you don't have content, you don't exist there.
Okay,
Sorry,
taking
Rob.
that for a
Sorry,
second.
Lauren.
No, taking that for a second, you made a very good point that I was thinking about as I'm constructing my presentation for Rocket. I was telling that a little bit about it. And you made 2 points, search and social. And who's not in the voice world right now out of that? And that's really social. We're talking about search and voice activated search,
Sure.
algorithmic, artificially intelligence generated prioritization of relevance. What world will we live in? If you want to think out of the box that we're not being presented right now, what world will we live in when we're talking to whatever entity that it is? And they're saying, well, your friend Tim was in Honolulu and he enjoyed this luau. Because I'm going to ask things like, hey, I'm heading to Honolulu. What are some things I'd be interested in doing? And it's not the best luau. It is not that. But now there's going to be content from social that's now going to be used in the process of my discovery. Like I'm talking to somebody like, well, what should I do in Honolulu?
Well, so you're talking about a
I'm going to
different
take it
point.
I'm going to talk about a slightly different way, because social, you do have voice. It's called video, because what's different about social is social, you're not talking to necessarily, you're listening, right? To use, I can't remember whose phrase this is.
Well, not yet.
Search,
Facebook has M.
No,
so-
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But if we think about social as an experience, right? Generally speaking, and we think about customer behavior, search is all lean in. I am sitting there, I am typing, I am speaking, I am the person who's initiating the discussion. Social, it's lean back. I am reading, I am watching video. I might comment, I might like, I might thumbs up, but somebody else has initiated the discussion, and then I'm joining into that discussion, right?
I'll challenge it a little bit by saying that when my social world in the personal interactions, like I'll ask each of you, hey, I'm heading to Honolulu. Have you been there? What have you done?
Sure.
Okay.
But
As
a ratio of use, you probably create one thing on social for every
consume
X that you consume that is some multiple of that one.
Unless
Whereas
you're
on search, 100% is initiated by you.
And I'm talking about let's looking forward and taking off the shackles of what's
Hold on, let me just drop some knowledge on you all. All right.
Dude.
So we're talking about two very different things, though. The reason I'm talking about content marketing strategy and far further up the funnel is because it will be a very long time before the consumer is going to voice for inspiration.
Oh,
Right
yeah.
now,
I agree with that.
for the foreseeable long future, and not just because of technology. I'm going to go into this a little bit. So right now, the technology is all at time of transaction because the technology is limited. But even the technology will become capable of taking a big chunk out of the inspiration phase, but humans aren't currently smart enough. As a general population, it's been seen that visual IQ is doing this and our ability to communicate is doing this. Well, that's a huge problem for voice in the inspiration phase. Our inability to communicate what it actually is that we want, but we can see what we want at a much better rate now than we've ever been able to. And that's so the current curve of our intelligence with text and communication and our intelligence with our ability to process images doing this is going to actually slow down and possibly even hamper voice's ability of taking a complete chunk out of discovery. Now it will have pieces.
I'm being a little bit more optimistic about the possibility where, for instance, I'm going basing this off of the Star Trek computer methodology. Like you're going to dialogue with an entity in some capacity, and if in this, like you talk to your wife, you're like, honey, I was thinking about maybe let's go to Aspen. Oh, the Joneses went to Aspen. I should ask Mary what she thought about their trip. Okay, now you're going to talk to an entity that's going to say, oh, I'm thinking about going to Aspen. Oh, your friend such and such, and here, let me throw it onto the vid screen over here, their pictures or whatever it is. So there's an augmentation of what you're talking about, and they rated this and they stated this, and this entity is going to tell us.
But see, that entity is less dangerous than what's actually coming, because the reason that's less dangerous is you're basically saying voice is going to replace keyboard and trackpad.
Yeah, right. Voice
and it's a part of the process, right? I'm agreeing with both you. Visualization and audio are going to be melding together into a entity dialogue.
Yeah, sure. That's called video.
But you're also going to have some experts.
When visuals and audio come together, that's called
about consuming an engagement.
You're also going to have expert systems and artificial intelligence and bots and things like that, which are going to cull out the good information. Because when you ask your friend about going to Aspen, they go, "Oh, it's fantastic. We stayed at Beaver Creek. It was fantastic." And you go, "No, that's at Vail. What are you talking about?" You can get all that noise out of the
or it's only going to be relevant to the stuff that it knows that you're interested in. It's not going to talk about the beer fest that you're not a beer drinker. I understand that.
So,
by the way, folks, hold on. You guys know this, right? I want to make sure the audience knows this. I'm posting a link right now. This is Apply Magic Sauce. I'm sure you've seen it, right? This is Cambridge University. You connect your Facebook account, you connect your Twitter account, right? And it'll tell you what they can predict about you. Some of it's stuff you've already told them, and some of it's stuff that they can just intuit. You must have seen, I'll look for it in a second and I'll post the link, but you must have seen the screenshot that was going around during the election season about what Facebook looked like if you were a liberal versus what Facebook looked like if you were a conservative.
In fact, we wrote a blog post on it that was written by me talking about the echo chamber effect.
Right.
And, and really how social, unlike normal personal interaction where it's been proven that we'll actually continue being friends with someone we dislike because it's easier than disrupting our normal days. Yeah, sure. But on social, we can mute, which actually makes our social laser focused in basically being exactly what we want to hear.
Yeah. Exactly. And
so
the point is, I mean, Lauren, what you're talking about already exists. They're already controlling that filter to say, here's what we're going to show you. It's going to get better. It's going to get more sophisticated. But we're going to see more of when I search for. I really want to keep coming back to, because Ed, I think you have made a brilliant point here that I think we cannot emphasize enough about the importance of content marketing. Mm-hmm. That we have to be prepared to meet the guest where they are, right? And there are going to be points top of funnel where it's much more lean back. It's much more, how am I getting inspired and how am I finding stuff? And it's going to be video and it's going to be social and it's going to be things like that are getting through the filter because it matches what I want and what I like and what they know about me. And voice, pure voice, when I initiate the conversation, I do that today with search. I will do that tomorrow. I mean, some of us are already doing it. Some of us will do it later. It might grow a ton. It might grow a little less. It's going to be voice.
Oh, no. And it is. And the stats from Google are that voice, like an Android and things like that, are far exceeding people typing.
40% of all search volume on mobile already.
Yeah,
voice is already 40% of all search volume.
Yeah, what has to happen, though?
But the point there being that's by the time they get to search, if you haven't already gotten on you're already losing.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing to me is if you look at a lot of hotels' advertising and marketing spend, it's at a point that they've already lost. Like they don't stand a chance. They're outgunned. You're outspent.
Well, I would debate that. Again.
Again, I'm using harsh generalities of like the average, not the special. And so this is the point I make, like made it in 2 presentations this week to the same audience, which is if all your budget is focused at a time and decision where they've already made most of their decisions, like you're lucky with what you get. It's luck.
Right. Yep.
I mean, and that's it. Whereas if you actually go further up funnel, there's actually a point up funnel that the OTAs are struggling to figure out how to get up that high.
That's
and
right.
It's because in order to get up that high, you have to be able to own and see through the relationship, which the OTAs can't.
Right.
And it's also Amazon struggling with that. Amazon's struggling with getting up that high. We actually had them in one of the influencer labs. And actually, it was funny. In the influencer lab we did in Seattle, we had someone from Amazon, someone from Expedia, and we were talking about the user journey and inspiration. And Amazon and Expedia were exactly the same big thing they're focused on, is how can we get further up the funnel of inspiration? And their challenge, they're having a real hard time with it. And this is the funniest thing, because for hotels, like, holy crap, you can be like almost inception level top of funnel, right? Like, and like, so few even dedicate any money to that point of marketing. And it's actually the point of marketing that they can dominate. And oh, by the way, more so than even brands can do. Marriott can't get up to that level like a Marriott hotel in a location can. And the big key difference is local expertise.
Right.
And hotels are the largest employers of locals in most of the places that they are.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and it's and it's very difficult for Marriott. One thing I just wanted to make on the voice point, what's required now, the thing that's holding back an Echo or a Google Home or whatever is, yes, I mean, certainly it works on Android, like show me great places to stay in Charleston, right? And it can kind of do that, but it hasn't really gotten to the point where you've got the Tinder swipe left, swipe right type thing to start filtering out stuff, which has got to be where things are going. The other thing is, look at what Paul English is doing, right? A lot of people thought it was a really weird thing. English, started up Kayak with Steve Hafner. He's doing Lola. Lola is a heavily human involved kind of travel agent, digital, but all he's doing, he's kind of Uberizing the sort of thing. He's using the humans now to answer questions and basically develop this knowledge base that then you can cut the humans out of the out of the loop once you get enough data to start predicting these things and rolling through. And it's basically on voice interaction, right? Because it's a much deeper level of, you don't have the granularity. How do you get the expertise on all this, on all this content? So content does wind up being king, because how many hotels of people, I don't know, what's big Game of Thrones is about to start up again, right? And I don't watch Game of Thrones, but a lot of people do. Well, they want to watch the episode live on that thing, and yes, maybe they can watch it on their mobile, but it's going to be a thing where, like, hey, I'm in a hotel on a Sunday night or whatever, I want to watch Game of Thrones. Does that hotel have HBO? Right. So I can go get or
Which,
can
by
I?
The way, what hotel doesn't have HBO?
Well, okay, Showtime. Pick a Showtime, whatever.
Right.
I don't know, or
AMC.
They want to watch Better Call Saul.
But here's the other fun thing is, they talk about AI like it hasn't already been won.
Right.
There's only one real player in AI, and it's Google. And here's why. No. Here's why. Technology-wise, they're far more advanced, but Google has the one thing that no other player in AI has, which is the majority of the world giving its AI input.
Right, and making it better.
Right, because
every piece of information they get.
Facebook's AI play is not going to be to the same level as Google's.
I throw Watson into that, even though IBM is on a 10 quarter slump. Watson, I would throw in there because it's sucking up every static form of data right now.
Well,
not
but hang on,
data.
Hang on. You've got another dimension of this. Elon Musk and Peter Thiel have OpenAI, because these guys are all sharing that content too. So it's going to be, and I agree, Google has a big leg up, but all these other guys are out there getting data from everybody, because, again, the more information you have,
Tim,
you can refine it.
I'm a Facebook fanboy, okay?
No, I get it.
And Mark Zuckerberg can't do wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
However, I'm just going to say, and I'm actually not a big fan of Google's, as you've also heard in other things, but the position of what it takes to make AI leap, Google is the only one that has the massive lead over everyone else.
I understand what you're saying, and this is one where we do not disagree in the nuance.
You just disagree holistically.
We just disagree. First of all, we have to be really careful when we talk about AI specifically, right? Because
otherwise we'll get shut down.
well, yeah, that's right. It'll come for us, right? Exactly. No,
Just kidding.
So I do not claim expertise in AI. I do work very closely with a guy who is pretty darn good at it, and I don't know if you guys know this. I actually do have a little stealth project. I am part owner of a company, a software company, that we are actually doing things with machine learning specifically to do very interesting content stuff. But more on that when we
to
talk about it.
author posts on timpeter.com.
So we'll talk about what it does.
That's how he gets those things.
Time.
That's why he has a post on
about what
every
it does
topic
when we
known
get
to
to that
mankind.
time, right? But when we talk about AI, we have
well,
to
now that I know that, Tim Peters AI trumps Google's because it has more.
No. And I want to be really clear.
does.
We're not building some of the core
kidding.
stuff by any stretch, right? We're leveraging things other people have done who are way smarter than us. But first of all, when we talk about AI, there's two types of AI. I mean, there's a billion, but there are two general types of AI, right? There is the Star Trek computer, which is generalized AI, right? Where you can just carry on a conversation and have it do whatever and whatever. And then there are application-specific AI. And Google's AI is really, really good from an application-specific perspective, but it's an application. Facebook's AI is a really good application-specific AI that is a different application than what Google's is. Amazon's AI is a very good specific AI that is different than what Facebook and Google are doing, and so
as is Watson, right?
As is Watson. And Watson, honestly, Watson, to be fair, Watson is a brand name that covers a host of AIs, some of which have been out and bought. Right, so there are some AIs that it is exceptionally good at.
There's Lucy, there's Alfred, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of them. And so Google's lead, which is, I would go so far as to say almost insurmountable, is in a specific application. And if that's
you're thinking narrowly to what we're aware of today. I'd like to point out that hold on.
I'm going to push back on that because trust me, I'm really not. This is something we spend a lot of time thinking about.
So are you taking into consideration all the Android devices?
Yeah, of course.
So
absolutely.
So that means they even outclass. That means they outclass Apple in this. They outclass Facebook because how much of Facebook traffic is through an Android device? So they have everything they have. They have every one of their users who use Facebook on Chrome or Android.
They do, but because it's HTTPS and they don't have the really granular details.
Well, and again, to what end? To what end? What problem are they specifically solving?
Well, they're collecting right now. See,
that's the thing is they have all the data.
Yeah, no, you almost made Ed's point there.
But they really don't, because you have to be very careful about something, right?
Tim, you're right.
Well, there's things like semi-supervised learning. There's things like deep learning. There are different techniques that you do with this kind of stuff.
Right.
So I'll give you a real-world example that I believe I can talk about. I've seen Watson. I've been to IBM and seen demos of Watson for work we've done and things like that. I'm pretty sure I can talk about this.
This is your work with NORAD?
No.
NSA.
That I can't talk about. I can't talk about the work with NORAD. But when we talk about what Watson does, they have a medical diagnosis AI, right? Where what they do is they feed it a bunch of symptoms, and it diagnoses, in particular, cancers. So these are the types of cancers, and these are the courses of treatment it would recommend, right? However, this is what's called semi-supervised learning, because when it produces a result, they then get experts from, what's the big cancer?
Dana-Farber.
I'm sorry?
Dana-Farber?
No, from a major cancer treatment facility. They get the best doctors, the people who are rated as the best doctors, to actually tell Watson, did it come up with the right treatment plan or a treatment plan that they would acknowledge as being a good one or not, right? As opposed to opening up to all the data.
Do they also tell it why?
They can give it some insights as to why that's correct or why it's not correct, yes. And the reason that they have to do that is because you opened it up to the world, it would actually become average as opposed to being really good. The thing about a semi-supervised system is who supervises it makes a huge difference, because otherwise you don't end up with artificial intelligence, you end up with artificial stupidity.
Right.
And when Google is taking things like all the data and trying to do deep learning and the like, one of the things they're trying to figure out is the deep learning valid, and how do we know this? And that's has to be for very specific applications, because otherwise it's going to come up with wrong answers and a lot of false positives and the like.
Right.
And they
But again,
absolutely have a lead in the areas that they're focused on.
Well, not
some
just
of which are really cool. I mean, have you seen the thing that they're doing with machine translation?
Mm-hmm.
The machine translation has done something incredibly cool that nobody knew was possible. They can tell it to take English to German, and it would do that fine. And they could tell it to take English to Russian, and then that was fine. But if initially, for years, if you wanted to do German to Russian, you had to say, do the first translation, German to English, and then English to Russian. Yeah. And what's recently happened is that their AI has created its own language in the middle to go straight from German to Russian for translation. So that's a specific application where they have a lead that they're going to be tough to catch for the time being.
But even
that's an application.
But here's the thing. I'm just going to continue to build my case here. So this example you're giving of having semi-supervised AI. Yeah. So let me just ask you a question.
Semi-supervised learning.
Yeah, learning. Yeah. So of all the companies doing this, what brand do you think is going to have the easiest time attracting the best specialists?
Depends on what problem you're trying to solve.
I don't know.
No, I guarantee, because if you're a PhD,
have you been to a Google campus?
I have.
Have you been to an IBM campus?
More than once.
Right. Which would you rather spend time at?
Depends on the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be funny.
I know.
These are
Tim. If you haven't realized. Whenever I think I'm right, I will find a way. I will find a way to get you to agree with me.
Yeah, this one, brother, it ain't gonna happen.
No, but I mean, you have to admit,
Google has got a strong lead in the applications that they are focused on, and they are definitely going to attract a lot of talent. They're definitely going to do.
And they also have the ability to move in to many of the applications that.
But
many.
But again,
I didn't say all. You listen.
But again, some of the people who are the experts in this, again, with this open AI concept, the guys who got really smart at this stuff with Google decide, you know what, I'm going to go out over here and we're going to go specialize in this and go do something to go capitalize on that too. Yeah, so,
and one of the guys,
ecosystems,
one of the guys we've been working with, just to give this a specific point on this, and I want to be fair.
Yeah, why don't you be very careful? Yeah.
Well, no, we were working with a guy specifically. He was doing work with us, and we knew he was only available to us for a time. He had offers on the table from Google, Amazon, and Facebook, and he went to Amazon. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the reality.
Those are kind of the four horsemen, and Apple.
Apple, Google, Facebook, and Apple is the one who I think is probably in the worst position from an AI perspective.
Yep.
By far.
Yep.
With the exception of the fact that they could buy any of the other horsemen and still have cash left over to pick up the next one behind that.
Very fair point. But I think early in AI, I mean, talk to people in 2 years, and I think we're going to be in a very different place, and we'll have to see where things stand.
And again, I just want to go back to the fact is I'm generally a Google hater.
Oh yeah, sure.
But let's swing this back to the original Amazon discussion. So
before we go there for one moment,
okay.
Before we go there for one moment, I do need to apologize. I'm going to have to run. It's a little after 1. I have a 1:30, and this is my only opportunity to get a couple things done prior to that call.
You mean eat lunch?
Yeah, I was going to try to stop you from talking.
So that is one of those things.
Wow. That is the biggest. That is the biggest lunch bag.
Wait, I want to be fair. It's chips. It's a soda. and it's a sandwich.
Now, you did see that
Wow.
diet soda shrinks your brain. I don't know whether you saw that on the Today Show today. I mean,
Everything's gonna kill everybody, Lauren. It's okay. We're all gonna die of something, buddy.
That's
Hey,
he's
before you go, two things.
And I'm
One,
gonna
we need to find out how to
outsource
reach
it all
out to
to
you.
an AI. I'm gonna let Google do all my thinking for me.
Yeah, right. All right, two things. One, we need to find out where people can reach you. Two, is there a topic we didn't hit that you want us to make sure we talk about when you come back to listen to the show?
We covered everything. Y'all are brilliant. And if people can find me at timpeter.com.
Also,
No,
known
that's
as
true.
Peter.
I tell you what, I walk away from every single show, unlike artificial stupidity. I walk away from every single show smarter than when I started. So I
Agreed.
really
It's the
appreciate it.
primary
he
reason I
now
do the
knows
show.
he now
For
knows
sure.
another topic not to argue with Ed about.
That's right. All right, Tim,
Um,
thank
but
you so much.
You can find me at timpeter.com, and I will look forward to seeing you all next Friday.
Thank you for joining us again.
Thanks.
Wow,
Yeah.
2 weeks in a 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah,
Wow.
and then I'm not there the week after because
Oh, wait a second. I don't think I'm gonna be there on Friday. Oh, maybe I
Oh.
will. I don't know.
Oh, by the way, I do have to do a quick plug for anybody in Houston. I'm going to be on a panel at the Hotel ROI conference this Monday in Houston.
Oh, really?
So swing on by if you're around.
Talk
I'm on
about
the-
negative KPIs in it. It
I'm
blows
actually-
people's minds.
I'm actually talking about on the maximizing revenue panel. So there's actually some opportunities for that. All right.
Yeah.
So
Very
feel free to swing on by if you're in the Houston area. You can find it at Hotel RO. Hold on, I'm just going to find the link and I'll just put it in the thing.
Do you record any of your presentations? Do you ever ask that you can record any of them so that we can
You know,
hash them out?
it's funny that you do. Funny that you ask. That is something I'm going to be doing more of going forward this year because I am sorely lacking video for a lot of this stuff. But in this specific case, I don't know what the video is, and I'm on one panel, and it's a panel, so I'm kind of in and out.
Oh, that's an AHOA conference. Okay.
It's an AHOA conference. That's exactly right. It's
Very
AHOA in conjunction with QuestX.
Okay. Very cool.
On Monday. So I'm going to find the link. The first thing I'm doing before my call, honestly, is I'm just killing my microphone and my video, my camera, so I can post the link while I'm wolfing down part of a sandwich.
All right. Enjoy your
And,
lunch.
But gents, you all
Bye,
have a
Tim.
great afternoon. I'll see you soon. All right.
See ya.
All right,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. All right. So, Robert, we're not going to have you back because you're going to suck the life out of us for another half hour with a story. So we're not going to do that.
No. We're gonna do one last close, which wraps up the whole Amazon deal.
I will
tried
say,
it.
fair enough. This is the tightest theming I think we've ever had as a show.
It really is.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that's going on with Amazon, which ties into the AI, which ties into the whole thread of our conversation.
We're going to bring it
This
all
is really-
together.
We're going to tie it all up. So remember that the problem with killing these brands is it's what's best for the consumer and the intermediary, right? And how does that really work out? So one of the things that Amazon is doing with voice that Scott Galloway picked up was he asked an Echo about he needed batteries, right? I need some batteries. And what batteries did Amazon recommend?
Amazon batteries.
The Amazon Basics brand, because Amazon has their little, private label brands as well as private label brands in fashion and jewelry and things like that, which weirdly I see some sort of similarity to other like fashions that are produced or jewelry items which aren't quite the same brand, which is very, very disruptive and very, do you need an Alex and Ani jewelry or something that just kind of looks like, I don't know. And I really don't know who wins that, because if I talk to my wife, she goes, hell no, Alex and I, all these different things, they win because that's it. And that's their brand. You go, I don't know, sort of thing. So
They win.
anyway,
They win. So Amazon will win this form of transaction in that case.
well, but
There will
here's
be a
what,
resurgence in boutique retail. We're already starting to
Right.
see it. Go talk
Right.
about that mall that has the artwork. I'm guessing a lot of those are really high-end boutique-y type.
not as many as you'd think, but they're really high. I mean, they have Tiffany's, they got they've got all the big stuff, and then
But
they've
they're
got
not-
a few little
Not
yeah.
huge box. Like it's smaller square footage, less
Oh, yeah.
items, but very
Right.
specialized.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Kendra Scott is another one. Kendra Scott's like a jewelry designer from Austin, right? Very hot. My daughters like got into it, because again they're kind of that age of 19, 26, and now
Right.
my wife's into it, and it's interesting stuff, and it's boutique oriented, generally not in malls, but that sort of stuff is big. So that'll be kind of interesting, and you can't buy that. I don't think you can buy Kendra Scott stuff through Amazon. Just like my wife works with Brighton Collectibles, right? And they were the big ones who fought, very hard in terms of protecting their brand and not getting sold, and resale price maintenance. They were actually the cornerstone case of rate parity, right, for hotels. They aren't sold on Amazon and protect their brand, and they are in malls and things. So it'd be very, very interesting with things like that, which I think does apply to the travel industry. But the interesting thing was, he asked for batteries. They go, "Do you want the Amazon brand?" He goes, "No." And they gave him another quantity of the basics. He said, "No, I don't want that." And they go, "We don't have any batteries. We don't have any more batteries."
Wow.
So that's the whole OTA.
Yep.
Expedia saying, "Nope, we're sold out of that one. You wanted the Marriott, whatever. We're sold." Well, they aren't sold out, but the intermediary is. So his point was, is that best for the consumer? I don't think so. But boy, that's better for Amazon.
Is what leaves the door open for top of funnel marketing activities to inspire people to ask the question that leads the transaction to you.
Right. But again, you run into these really interesting situations of how much weight and effort does that intermediary put on in the for evil, right? Where if you consider what's good for the consumer is what's good.
In voice, it really sucks to produce toilet paper. Right. Fortunately, travel is not toilet paper, so there's opportunity. It's not the death march of.
Well, maybe. It depends.
It'll be the death march of those who wish to continue doing business like they've always done business.
Yeah.
So does that pretty much every other technology.
Well, but some people have preferred forms of toilet paper or whatever. They have whatever. Now, I don't know if Amazon figures that out, and it's the cheapest, the best quality, I don't know, largest roll. I don't know, whatever whatever the dimensions.
They'll know based on the other things. The other way you make product decisions, they'll know. I guarantee you, their algorithms can tell you where you're from originally based on the products that you purchase.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So they're going to know.
Another thing brought up, and again, I can't recommend this video enough because it would have only taken you 24 minutes.
Well, I'm glad you say that because I was wondering, because enough was 3 or 4 recommendations ago. I appreciate you clarifying that you can't recommend it enough.
No, but it is, the guy covers all of us, and a portion that you would probably now you've got me another topic that he's covered, unfortunately for you guys, is in terms of the valuation of his company. He just sold L2 to Gartner, as a matter of fact. But it tied into the whole profitability type thing of growth being it. So he said, and he's run companies before, and he's a clinical professor at NYU, right? So he kind of goes through and says, he always ran businesses that he wanted to get, 30 to 40% EBITDA or something like that, and grow maybe, 20 to 40% a year. So a good, solid, quality operating business that's sustainable, and this is great, which is kind of what we're talking about with the hotel industry right now. It's a strong sort of thing. He's talking to a couple of VC guys who know about finance and doing things, and they go, "You don't want to do that." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You want to take all that money that you're earning and roll it into growth. Screw the profits, grow." And he's like, "That's freaking insane." So he said he resisted that for a year or two, and then finally 2-3 years ago was like, "Okay, let's try that." Right? He did that, and what did he do? He sold to Gartner for probably 10x what he would have done for doing it the other way. Right?
So I actually agree with the very good decision he made. That's exactly what we did at Easy Yield. It was there was tons of profit we were mad when we had to take some because
Yeah.
our staff couldn't manage spending it all.
Right.
So, like, don't
So
get
you
me wrong.
rolled it into- yeah.
Like, good margin can operate all of that, but then the next smartest decision after setting up that base you can do is to take as little of that money off the table as possible.
Yep.
And have a growth minded culture.
Right.
The difference being companies that skip step one, which is, build a business that can live on its own. What they're doing is they're basically saying it's all or nothing. And when all or nothing are your only two choices, guess which one wins more?
Yeah.
It's nothing, because you're shooting for the stars and it's hard to
Yeah.
get a rocket out of our atmosphere. Right? If it was easy to get a rocket out of our atmosphere, we'd all be traveling in space.
But well, and to close, the last thing I'll say about this, what
Liar.
his final no
You are
his
just a
final
liar.
his
Not the
final
last thing you're going to say about this.
well no about this is that he doesn't know if that's really a good thing or a bad thing, because you
For
have
him, it was probably a good thing.
oh no, it worked out, but
Yeah.
but general overall and macro for where you're focused on growth, not profits. And I mean, I remember the
If you
.com
have
bust,
no
there was-
investors and you're not trying to roll up in a Rolls Royce,
right.
it's a good thing to invest in growth. Because here's the thing, if you're wrong in the way you invested in growth, guess what you get to do? Divert that investment. You're still
Right.
profitable.
Right.
Right? I mean, and that's what I'm saying is it's a good thing. It worked out very well for me.
Yep.
And it's the plan I execute here at Flip2, which is it's pedal down as long as things are going right. And then, oh, by the way, if we start to see cracks, lift that pedal a little bit and let's go investigate and fix and continue. And then as soon as everything's healthy again, pedal down.
Well, yeah, and I think you've got to look for things like Snapchat might be a very good, interesting investment. Where they made what $400 million in revenue, but they lost $500 million in profit. That's a pretty big spread.
That's
Going
a big
for
gap.
growth, that's a really, really, really big gap.
Yeah,
But
Snapchat
today,
is screwed as a company, Tim. I agree with you.
So anyway,
Yeah.
but that's an interesting point. You get
But
too
here's the
many
thing,
of those where
spending
that
your
gap
profits
exists.
on
Yeah.
growth is not dangerous, because if you're only spending your profits on growth, you're not creating that gap. You're
Right.
going to zero and you're stopping at zero.
Right.
And if you stop at zero, it's not dangerous, because next year you can go, you know what, we're not going to do as much. We're going to stop at 15.
Right.
Mhm.
We're going to stop at
Yeah.
20. We're going
And
to stop
what
at
Bezos-
30.
And what Bezos managed to do is to get Wall Street from that, keep the 20-30% thing and do it normally, to go, no, zero profit is okay. Now, again, for a lot of these startups, though, it's starting to swing to this just growth. Uber, right? Losing a lot of money, but $50 billion valuation, that starts to get a little bit scary.
Listen,
Now,
I hate
Airbnb
to
is now profitable and has this huge valuation, but they're profitable. So they've got a little bit of a different dynamic than Uber.
But let's go smaller startup. I'd hate to be like in Triptease's boardroom.
Right.
Because they've raised $20 million and they have a single product right now.
Yeah, I know. That's tough.
That can't be comfortable.
No.
And oh, by the way, I have news for everyone about the hotel industry. Getting a product into a bunch of hotels does not mean you will be successful in selling a more premium product to those same exact hotels.
Right. Yep.
Just putting the secret out there. That's why
but
Sabre doesn't have every product in every one of their hotels. They have, and they spend a lot of money trying to get parts of their company into hotels that they've had long-running relationships with.
Well,
TravelClick, same thing.
Yep. How has Sabre developed a lot of that is through acquisition, right? Sabre is pretty good at acquiring stuff and integrating it, not real good on developing it themselves. TravelClick, same thing. They acquired Easy Yield, right? They acquired ZDirect. They acquired iHotelier, Rubicon. All the stuff they have has been, basically, rolled.
VIP International.
Yep.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
That doubled. That was a risky acquisition that really paid off well.
Yep. No, VIP. Yeah, I know that rep space was very interesting. Lived in that quite for about 7 or 8 years there. Yeah, it's amazing.
But
And now
so that's the difference, though, is like there's a difference between building a stable business and then using its excess cash to make it grow, and
taking a
ton of other people's money and figuring it out as you go along.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And listen, even at Easy Yield, like, I couldn't have imagined how I would have felt if the first 3 years of that company I was in someone's pocket, because God, those early stages, you don't even know if you're right. And actually, a lot of times you're like 80% certain you were wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean that's my advice to people: take as little of that money as possible, right? I mean,
that's also
on
why, like, one of the biggest pieces of advice given to business people who want to start their own small business is not to take a second mortgage out on their house, because you're just likely to lose your house because the bank isn't going to be patient. They want their payments.
Right.
No, and that's it with the partner you get that money from. If they're a group who's looking at it as, yeah, we've got 100, 200 investments, and we're hoping that 3 become moonshots. That's our model. You don't want to be one of the other 197.
No, especially when they're getting close to closing out their fund. When they just want to close the fund and you've been down in the bottom, and they force you to sell because they want to close their fund and they don't care.
Right.
Yeah. You got to be careful.
Well, we can keep this. We can keep this topic going on because there's lots of things historically about the fact that venture capitalists didn't ever really truly exist in their current entity, and it used to be stockholders, and that were people that were of like mind in the success of the company, and not just as an investment tool for quick return on value of investment. And there's lots of things that have created the environment that we're living in now that didn't exist before in corporate development. Now it's the kiss of death. As soon as you go from what you were as a private entity with your handful of investors and spending your profitability, but keeping your profit margin growing, but you're not dipping into negative. Now, as soon as you go public, all they want is cash out. So they want you to continue to grow, but they don't want you to spend any money of your growth to do because they want it in their pocket. So all of that.
And only a few. Well, and look at the track record of it for the hotel. That's why Starwood got sold. I mean, they basically missed 1 year when they didn't grow enough, and all of a sudden it's like,
and it wasn't a surprise for them either. They knew they were going to miss that year.
Right.
They had said pretty good guidance on it.
They disappointed the street, and it was below. They missed their guidance, but not by a ton. But they missed their guidance, and they were below their competitive set. And Wall Street said, "CEO,
that goes
you're
back to
out," and boom, it's up for sale.
The case studies I think we're going to get out of this is that Marriott didn't take the tech stack from Starwood, because that was part of the reason why Starwood quote faltered. It didn't falter. It said, look, we got to create our infrastructure differently. We got to put money into our infrastructure to be that growth beyond it. And they didn't like it. They wanted, no, we want you to bleed to death. Yeah. And then so we can make our profits off it. And when you're a dead, dying husk, we'll sell the husk out to somebody else and make money off of that too. They don't.
Although I got to say, there's like one entity that will be like cheered when Marriott decided not to take Starwood's stack. And that was Amadeus. Because as soon as IHG is launched on that tech stack, it's going to be impossible for Marriott's board to defend staying off of it.
Right.
Because there's no way they're going to be able to sell a board of it that represent investors on building their own, because they're the case study on why hotels shouldn't, because they're still using technology that is way past its due date.
Same with all the major banks and all the GDSs too. That TPF platform is
right. But here's the thing:
is entrenched.
They've made the best they could with it, but had they not been in that position, they'd be a bigger company today. They'd be a more profitable company today. They'd be better fit to compete with the OTAs by a large margin. And so, if I was Amadeus, I'd be like, yes, they didn't take the Starwood tech stack. Yes.
Oh no, and that's
customer.
They might still come back. They might want to wash it red and go over and bring it back in with a few extra tweaks and say it's Marriott build. I mean,
they can kick the can. They can kick the can. They can't kick it forever.
But
No,
but
they can't.
Marriott has a huge problem with that. One, they got 30 brands they got to kind of figure out. That's secondary. They've got a business that is very has a massive amount of human capital involved, right? Which Amadeus does not have. So they've got. I mean, Amadeus has a lot of human capital when you compare it to Google or somebody else like that. Kind of newer tech companies, considering Amadeus is more like a legacy tech company in many ways when you look at
One
it.
that has
But
transformed amazingly, though.
oh no,
in
they
the
have.
last
Oh no,
10
no, they've done
years.
it.
Holy
They've
crap.
done it. But still, when you compare it to somebody else who's like this really new, Silicon Valley startup, they're pretty labor heavy. But Marriott doesn't have the leash from Wall Street to go to. They've got all those resources tied up in people. Sort of thing that they can't just free up and go, let's throw it into tech. And you've got Wall Street sitting there going, what are you doing? And actually, Expedia, I mean, their stock had the shit beat out of it when, Dara's sitting there going, it's going to take like $750 million in a few years. Just be patient. And they did not react well, but they had Barry Diller kind of there going, okay,
I got your back.
Because
Yeah.
Dara, and a lot of that you start getting relationships because Dara was Barry's number one deal guy at IAC, even before Expedia. I mean, that's how he got into Expedia. So Barry's like, I got your back. You're okay. This is and Expedia now with their unifying all those platforms, that really smart. Which again, versus Priceline, who's kept a lot of stuff.
Tons of silos, and silos kill.
They do, and I mean, you start looking into a meta search platform like a TripAdvisor or whatever, and you start looking at this, going, wait a second, here's Expedia, and talk about rate parity. Boom, Hotwire, Hotwire, not the opaque one, but the whatever, the retail one. All that stuff is completely aligned, and you go, why is Booking.com at $229 when Priceline's at 200 and Expedia's at 180? Why are all of the Expedia brands at 180? What the hell is going on? So
So
all right,
in our
Lauren,
closing few minutes of stuff, I want to throw a couple of questions and I threw in some topic stuff because of asking about their indication value. For instance, there was a South Florida hotel gains guests, but rooms rates retreat. Here's a major market, Miami. I know from client experience, Miami has been a depressed ADR market for a while, oversaturation of inventory, still more inventory is piling into it. Its real estate market is fluxed, way overpriced on things. Now there's a price resettlement into the market. Is this an indication, even though we just looked at the reports that said, look, where RevPAR still grow more with the ADR than we expected, is this an indication that now rate isn't going to be the big influencer and that occupancy is going to be the driver? And we've seen that this is the best of the days now. We've peaked. We've apexed. There's not more growth. This is going to be a transcendence of a decline. Is that an indicator?
I don't think Miami can be an indicator of that, because here's the thing. Miami was so overcooked on high-rise pipeline. Were you shocked, Lauren, when you went back after just being away for months? Yeah. I mean, it's so overcooked on space. So much space has been built in Miami. And the pricing was just outside of any reasonable explanation, except for heavy South America money and heavy China money, which is money that doesn't actually care if it's rooted in sound like return. They just want to get their money out of their country. Well, guess what? Them wells have dried up.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is there's 14 years of development coming onto the market right now, and for the next 10 years. And so you can't use Miami as the indicator.
Well, I would just Miami's one. I mean, New York said it had a depressed ADR market for a while.
Well, no, but New York had the Airbnb factor somewhat, not a huge thing, but also supply. Right, you got a ton of supply going in, and that's the thing. I mean, the one thing that actually I was joking about STR before not having good data, and they've got really, really, really good true demand, true supply data, and that's really what drives all of this. And the supply pipeline, and actually there was an article I didn't put on here, but it had kind of the top performing, who's growing, who's shrinking, and like Tucson is just getting shelled. And it's not because Tucson had a gas leak or something like that, and everybody's dead. They just had a massive amount of inventory come in, and it's not, it's not doing well. So,
Okay. So, I mean, so going back to the Miami thing, there are markets like Miami that Miami is a good indicator that those markets will soon be seeing the same thing. But I think as an overall industry, Miami is going to be such an interesting city because another pullback based on everything that's been built, and they have to finish it. They can't not finish these projects.
Right. Yeah. You don't want shells of partly developed buildings.
Right.
That's not a good look.
No. Ask Vegas.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Or actually, I live right next to a very famous one called the I-4 Eyesore. That's been a shell of a building for 15 years.
Yeah.
So anyways, so Miami has those problems. Then Miami's got some other big issues that screws them up. Nature has not been kind to Miami for the last couple of years. So this whole thing with whatever's causing the oceans to rise, I don't want to get into a political discussion here. But they're having
carbon in the atmosphere. Partial.
Could be.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
It could be a quote, a very long seasonal trend in the history of the Earth, which
who knows?
Probably hasn't peaked yet. Yeah.
There could be entities involved in it that people believe in. Who knows? But for whatever reason, whatever your belief is, there's more water in Miami than what's been previously there. That's a problem. There's this whole thing called Zika. That's a problem. Take that, open up Cuba. Caribbean's developed quite nicely. Baja Mar finally opened. Yeah. Which, holy crap, whoever thought that would happen. Miami's got so many things working against it. And I don't think there's a lot of cities in the United States that have quite as many things working against it as Miami.
Yeah.
And then it has some next door neighbors that are getting better at what they're doing well.
Hollywood's looking great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are those things, but it's not to bring about just the indications that we keep talking about that we started the year with. First quarter's rolled up. Here the numbers are continuing to plateau. 18 months, still, what is it? No, 88. How many, Robert, how many months has it been that's been constant growth? 84 or something like that.
Oh, and for hotels or for
RevPAR growth?
Oh, RevPAR growth?
Yeah, it's been like it was in the article about the persistent growth that we're still on the longest streak so far out of it.
I can tell you.
I forget what it was. It's been the longest streak in the industry right now, basically.
Based on, I can look easily on a 12-month moving average. It was lowest in week 9, which is in the first quarter of 2010, and it's been growing since then. The RevPAR for that was 50. I think I said earlier 53.14. And now it's the 12-month moving average is over $81, 81.79, almost $82. So yes, that's 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
And then other things like, for instance, I was going to throw in the Uber thing as well. They're trailing off on their corporate travel expansion. That article came out of Skift. I know that you're not big fans, but Skift is actually beginning to put some meat on the content of these things.
I said that. I said that earlier. I said I know I dog on them, but they are getting a lot better.
Actually, Dennis's stuff and Skift has always been really good. And what they had before was a lot of repurposing Bloomberg stuff where they just put in their quotes and things like that. But again, they were developing all this massive content, right? And developing. And now they've pulled in Sean, and they've pulled in, on the research side, they pulled in Luke from Focusrite. Yeah, they've developed an interesting little team there, and Rafat is relentless. right? So he's making trying to make his little industry specific empire, and he's making inroads. I mean, he has a
Holly
lot of people.
reminded us we needed to tell everyone who watched this why
Oh, it's
she's
the
not on the
giraffe
show.
cam.
Because
Oh.
today's the last day she can watch Giraffe Cam.
Yeah, we tried to think
But
it was a
why-
cryptic message of help. That what
And
she
if you
said
happen
was,
to be Holly's employer, I'm gonna guess she's not getting on conference calls today either.
yeah, I think that she's pretty wound up into the giraffe mode. We thought it was a cryptic note for asking for help. We thought that maybe her dogs, maybe Scout in particular, were holding her ransom for some more kibbles and steak or something. We weren't sure.
I was wondering though, does she have a bandwidth issue where she couldn't be participating in the call and just have another window open with the
Oh no,
team?
she wants the full experience. She wants
Yeah,
audio.
She wants
to
audio,
know
the
every
full screen
bit of sawdust in
immersive.
that kid.
She
Yeah.
ordered
She probably
on.
has
She
the
ordered
daydream
on.
goggles. Daydream goggles doing 3D. I don't know.
Yeah, she ordered on Amazon some of the waste material from the pen, so she had the smell effect going on as well.
Okay, so
Are you
she's
sure
looking
that
for
wasn't?
us-
Are you sure that wasn't eBay? I think that was eBay.
Oh, maybe it was eBay.
It might have been eBay. The one other thing I want to throw into this conversation, just to say that we said about it first,
them.
was that Bing is beginning to creep into the meta search space. They're playing with TripAdvisor's feed right now. They put the old carousel view up. As Ed pointed out,
But they're an affiliate, right?
But
It's just really they're an affiliate more on this, right?
yeah, they're playing with it. But they're from what I'm understanding, they're ready to pull the trigger on their own platform. Is this, I mean, this would be another attempt for Bing to monetize the platform. Obviously, it is, but Bing goes up and down when it comes to you influence on search space. But how long in that world is it going to be? Or is it just going to be a platform?
Microsoft should just accept the fact that they peaked early in travel.
Well, they started Expedia.
That's what I'm saying. They peaked early in travel.
They sold then, well, and actually what's really interesting, early on they had Sidewalk, right, which was going to be this whole destination experience. What are you doing? Which is kind of where TripAdvisor has run, and a bunch of other players have won it.
Yeah.
So they have this really interesting, cool
Granted,
vision.
they have enough money to buy their way into the space. I don't see them developing their way to the space.
Well,
now,
yeah, they
said,
still have the
they
still have Faircast stuff. I'm sure they still have the IP from that, which is fundamentally a lot of meta search platform. They're probably retooling that.
But their ability to do with consumers, like other competitors of theirs have, is just they're not there. Like.
Yeah, I would think
one thing I will say about Microsoft is Microsoft's ability to power a lot of the plumbing of a lot of the things is unbelievable.
Right.
So I don't want to diss the company. I just want to say, like, do they really even need to keep going back and picking at this scab where they're killing it? Like Azure is killing it. They're killing it in so many places. Like
AI, we left them out of the AI.
Well, that's the AI. It's the AI we use. Is their image AI? So I mean, stay behind the curtain, Microsoft. You've been doing great since you've done that, right?
Well, and it's interesting that their focus is really, really business, right? The B2B stuff, and they own LinkedIn, right? They own Skype. They've got a whole bunch of stuff there that just Office and all that stuff.
Best version of Office that anyone could ever hope for.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly, I struggle to use my Google Docs, which have won me. But Google Docs won me. Mm-hmm. And when Office 365 came out, I mean, it's superior.
Oh no, absolutely. And I still have my Google, subscription, everything going, Google Voice, all that. But I still use Outlook and Word and PowerPoint and Excel because the stuff's really good and it is pretty substantially superior to the Google Docs stuff. I mean, I can't do what I need to do in Google Docs. But it's amazing. But the whole consumer, I don't know about Microsoft going into business travel. Concur has really kind of,
But here's the thing. I mean, if Microsoft's going to try to do more consumer, they should stay within the consumer realm that they own, which is gaming.
Yeah. Right.
That platform, like, My
No, and
gosh.
automotive too. They're very entrenched in automotive right now. Apple's still trying to be into it.
Yeah, but I look at that more as B2B. I mean, that's more B2B
Oh, yeah,
because
well-
they're not like most consumers wouldn't even realize that it was
Yeah.
Microsoft. I mean,
Well, and Google's going B2B on auto too. I mean, they
So is
just
Apple.
cash it. Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody. Yeah.
space, but-
So
because here's the thing. You're not successful until you can at least sell as many cars combined as an auto manufacturer as Ford's single car that they make more of a month than most car companies sell total in a year. And that's a hard gap. Like Tesla's got a long way to go before they're really going to be able
just
to
got
say
the price on the S. It's going to go off.
it says it's
Yeah.
$5,000, 74 down to
75.
69.
7,500 is the drop, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's 5,000 plus they're doing some incentives or something
Okay.
like that. But
Okay.
But
Hey,
this is
so-
my point. Like, Microsoft, great, keep trying. I'm glad there are people who use Bing, but don't stop. Don't shift your focus off the stuff that you're just absolutely killing it on.
right. And
Oh,
and when you are going
Interesting
consumer-
statistic that makes sense for this show. I heard an interesting statistic. So I got to listen to Vikram speak from Rainmaker this week, and he was doing a revenue manager's position on digital marketing, and he used a really interesting statistic from Amazon that, gosh, Lauren, if no one listens to any other part of this show, I want them to hear this piece, which is Amazon has seen inside their platform for every second it takes for a page to load, revenue goes down 1%.
Wow.
for every what? Second?
Every second it takes for a page to load from milliseconds. So they're saying like their most profitable benchmark that they keep.
Right.
So let's say that's just under a second it takes for a page to load. So what they're saying is every second above that that it takes for a page to load in the process, revenue goes down by 1%. And I bring this up because hotel sites and booking engines, by the way, I'm looking at you, booking engine vendors. Like you should be measuring your load times in milliseconds, not seconds.
Absolutely. Yep.
And if you're measuring your load time in seconds and you're a vendor providing this service to a hotel, you're costing them money.
Right.
Yeah. And they're doing a really wonderful job of really dogging your site. They're layering themselves because they just don't come in and go into your GTM shell. They bring their own analytics into their own jQueries, their own JavaScript, and all that crap has to load. And where they put it or have you put it on their site puts it in front of your own content load.
Right. Yep.
And it just craps your site.
Yep.
So, yeah. Anyway, which
So
is a whole nother topic.
I
We
thought
never
that was
did
just
it.
an interesting statistic.
Mhm.
It's one of those ones like people should think about is for every second above this baseline of whatever it is, it was but it was less than a second. Okay, so
Right.
for every second beyond the first second it takes for a page to load, revenue drops by 1%.
And,
So that-
and my
that
guess,
would mean,
would
like,
be
'cause-
that increases geometrically. Also, I would believe.
Yeah.
Because
I'm gonna
I don't think it's a linear 1% for 4 seconds.
No, it's going to be like
it's
a
gonna tick
decibel,
up.
a decibel measurement.
Yeah.
Every 10th of a
Logarithmic.
Yeah.
So,
But that I just wanted to put that out there because the other thing I've noticed, and I don't know if you guys have noticed it, a lot of hotels whose sites have been otherwise snappy, their homepage site that they're putting this embedded video as the hero image, takes forever to load. And I'm on like a gigabit fiber.
Yeah.
And it's taking forever to load on my iMac. So I can only imagine what havoc it's wreaking on the normal computers on the normal bandwidth.
Yeah,
and
I
then
don't
the
know.
other
I
suggestion,
have a gigabit fiber, but I'm at 300 mega, and it's the same. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if I don't know what the average speed though. The average speed, especially if you're in a hotel room. Let's say you're traveling.
right?
Most of these hotels are maybe 1 megabit a second. So on the free Wi-Fi, it's not. It's not good.
No.
Yeah.
So the other interesting little words of wisdom I got out of Vikram's presentation for hotels is making sure that every time a new device comes out, you check that your site is functioning on it. And so the hotels were like, oh, how do we do this? And so he's like, just go to an AT&T wireless store.
Yeah.
And just pull up your site on all
Pull
their
it up.
devices.
And
Right.
see what it looks like.
And he's
Yeah,
like, no one's
or
going
a
to
new-
talk to you anyways. So
or a new browser. I mean, I don't know how many sites
Well,
don't really
the new
render
browser,
very
I think
well on a
the
on
smart
a
ones,
on
right.
a Microsoft Edge browser versus Internet Explorer 11, which a lot of stuff. Again, because I'm in a Windows world, guys, and I'm on Windows 10. I still have some things where I click on a certain thing, and a lot of the defaults, you click on whatever, and all of a sudden it doesn't open up in Edge. It opens up in Internet Explorer, and you're kind of like, what is that? Because Chrome is my default, but again, deep in the bowels of the Microsoft operating system, you have for this file type or for this, for HTTP or not HTTP, but some sort of format or connection. It's defaulting to something you have no idea what it is, and it
Right.
goes. And if your site winds up doing that, you're hosed.
Yep.
Now, as a call for our next show is show number 90. Not that there's any mark to it. It's just it's our 90th show. Ed, you were great about securing this young lady to join us. We had the privilege of having her on the show, live coverage of the Digital Marketing Conference in February. And I'm not going to say her last name right. I know her first name's Catlin, but is it Origitano or how do you, yep. And she's the senior content marketing manager, and she is and was.
For
And
Sojourn.
she first off spoke at
For
the
Sojourn.
Digital Marketing Conference Trade System AI, and she was engaging at the stage level. But then when you got her on the live show, it was fun to watch you guys go back and forth. She's a dynamo when it comes to content. So it's going to be real fun to have her on the show. There was a couple of news items. One of them were Sojourn based. I think I want to save it for Q's with her next week, so she can tell us a little bit more about the European stuff to do with RevDirect and all. But for anybody that wants to know a little bit, not just about Sojourn, but content marketing, that was the most intriguing part of the dialogue that you two just fired up back and forth with. It wasn't about product platforms. It was truly about value proposition of content marketing and content marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a real treat to have her on the show next week. I'm hoping that dialogue rekindles again, because it was fun just to watch when we did the live coverage at the Digital Marketing.
Ooh. And can we put her on the spot talking about attribution as well on
Don't do
retargeting?
that. That's not nice.
No, I know it's not. No, I think we should talk. No, not like really.
But I tell you what, Robert,
but
she'll hold
that
her
is-
own. She'll hold her own.
No, I agree because she's great. No, but I think that's an important thing because again, and I'm big on retargeting. It's just a lot of hotels look at this, and some of the retargeting guys are taking full credit. Yes, the pixel showed up, and how many years ago was it then? And they're taking 100% credit.
Dude, Robert, I swear to you, we will have that conversation on this show, because if any Ed and I have had in the background is a absolute disdainful conversation about the pervasive lack of quality on these retargeting platforms that are out there. So we won't put Catlin on the spot. We will talk about the method proposition because it's worthy of conversation in a neutral way. But I guarantee you, I got a kindling fire on this one. So I want to make sure.
But I think whether we should definitely talk about on attribute for this content for how does it, because it's a valid issue, and the retargeting guys have to deal with it, and the hoteliers need to
just
understand.
remember, she's their head of content marketing, though.
Oh no, I realize that. Yeah,
right.
I think the question
here's
is,
the thing: you may put her in a position where she can't answer because she's not the expert in that for that business. This is different than the normal guests we bring on. We normally bring on the person who can speak for all aspects of what is done, where we brought her on specifically because she's an expert in content marketing. She's very good at it.
Really good.
She's very talented at educating people on it. And she happens to work for Sojourn.
Right.
So
that's probably the happen to work for Sojourn probably is the best way of saying. But I want to see if we can grab Stuart on it with his team. I would love to have him on the show with us on that one. Tim's already going to be there. Robert, is there any way to make sure you're there? Because
I might be able to. That's Friday. I got to figure out when I'm traveling.
Just so you know, I'm going to make sure I get up at early crack of dawn stuff to make sure that because I really don't want to miss this show.
Well, then see if you can have Dan Waxman.
I want Dan to join us. I'm going to hit Dan up
in the room with you. You could be like simulcasted.
That's going to be slightly odd, but okay.
No, he shaved his beard.
What?
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's not so scruffy anymore.
Is he in the
No, we
room?
went
Are
to
you?
the
You're
lobby,
saying
so-
you're getting up there? Are you staying at Dan's house?
No, we're not staying at Dan's house. I'm not even staying at Dan's hotel. I'm gonna have to chase him down and see what's doing this.
Oh my
Well,
God!
Well,
Oh.
I told him I was in town, and he gave me some great recommendations. But in the recommendations, he didn't say anything about why aren't you staying in one of our hotels. So I don't
didn't ask
invite
him.
myself.
You didn't say,
I don't
"Hey, I'm
invite
looking
myself.
for a hotel. Do you have availability?"
Yeah, well, like I said, I didn't invite myself. I made it clear that, but no, I'll give him grief about it in some way. But yes, that's next week's show, and that's
Yep.
that. I'm really looking forward to that one. It's going
But
to be a fun
just
conversation.
again, remember, she's their content marketing expert, right?
We will have a separate conversation about what you just mentioned, Robert, because believe me, Ed and I are we're back and forth with stuff, and we just.
But I
really
also
want
want to be
able pop the
fair
can on
that
that
if
one.
Oh
we're
no,
going
we
to-
do.
if we're going
On
to
this
ask them
show, we never want to
specifically,
be unfair.
well, not just that. I mean, it would be fair if their expert in that was brought on the show and we wanted to talk about that with them. Then,
Oh no,
yeah, go ahead. Let's get it out there because then their expert will be able to expertly answer
Mhm.
their point of view.
no,
Right.
I don't. And actually, I'm looking at. I probably won't be on the show because I'm not going to try one of those live
Right.
en route to Lubbock.
Where you pop on and off and pop on and off 15 times, but nothing
Yeah,
happens.
not
I
good.
know you're trying. It was true,
Yeah.
but all right. So,
Although I
again,
do have a new, maybe I'll try to get on early and see if it works, but I don't think it's going to work. This
Where you
would
gonna be
my
at?
guess. What? I'm heading to Lubbock. Whenever I head to Lubbock, and it's normally on a Friday.
good.
What's
the
in
morning,
Lubbock?
'cause
Yeah, what's in
My
Lubbock?
daughter is in Lubbock, Texas Tech University.
Ah, that's why.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's-
wondering why you kept hitting the Lubbock thing. All right. So we
and,
are.
the Overton Hotel, which is a nice kind of independent hotel.
We're at the 2:15 mark.
Although I am staying at a brand new Wingate, so we'll see how that works.
So you promote one hotel, but then you're not going to stay in it, and you're going to stay in a brand box. Okay.
I like Overton, and actually, there's the location of the Wingate is very good, and was actually my wife's preference to be in that
Okay.
locale.
Well,
We've been trying to end this show for 20 minutes now. Can we stay focused?
We are. This
we
is
stay
much
focused,
too long. We
please?
have gone way too long. Yeah, we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
All
This
right.
is-
All right,
Where can they
so-
find you, Robert?
Yes,
Robert K. Cole on social media or rockcheetah.com
Lauren?
And Mr.
or
Edward.
timcomputer.com.
They can find this show, all the shows, and a whole mess of more stuff. Marketing Minute, which I still do every Monday. Podcast we do right after this show. All on hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. You can find the links for all of that are there. Mr. Ed, where can they find you, sir?
You can find what I care about at flip.to, and you can find me on social by my name, Edward St. Ange.
And I've been
For
tweeting
stuff he
the heck out
doesn't
of you.
care about, apparently. So yeah.
I've been tweeting a lot of watch this because now that I'm opening up the YouTube broadcast on this as we're doing it, it gives me a great link to share because it's a much easier, cleaner feed than doing the restream on the other platforms, which are
So
also.
what auto plays after this? I have not tested that to see what other stuff kicks in if it.
Who knows?
Winds up
Who
being
knows what's going to go after
The,
this?
Lauren's-
Marx Brothers.
Which, by the way, Lauren, if you're going to keep posting to YouTube this show and then rando crap you do on nights and weekends, you probably should get 2 YouTube channels.
Wait a minute. Wait. Is it still showing Star Trek and Star Wars? Because I'm good with that.
The only way you can find this show on YouTube is under you. And so it's like episode, Lauren at some bike event, Lauren eating yogurt, episode,
Yeah,
Lauren
that's
talking about the rains down in Africa, Lauren
the
at a kid's
360.
birthday party.
Don't forget the 360s. There's enough of those in there too. Yeah, I should splinter this. I have the channel made. I haven't put much dedication to it. Maybe I'll splinter it over to that. Good idea. I just like the Star Trek stuff. Anyway, all right. So with that, we.
But no. The funniest thing on YouTube.
He's never going to
though,
let you shut the show down.
I'm not because you brought up YouTube. Have you guys search for Lauren Gray on YouTube and
Right,
can
and you
see-
get-
a young girl.
You got calling my crush 7 seconds challenge with Saffron Barker.
Yeah, beautiful young girl. Believe me, I'm being solicited by people to give up my handle's name because she has hundreds of thousands of
So
followers.
here's the thing,
Just
Lauren.
880,000
I actually think so
subscribers.
you can beat her, you should start doing mimicked videos of her most popular videos.
Oh yes. Oh,
So
yes.
then your
Oh.
fan base can start demanding that she changes her name legally. Because like
Yeah.
there's
High
nothing
School
better
Crush.
than a middle-aged man picking on a tween.
Preteen. Yeah,
Right.
preteen
Exactly.
word. Yeah. That would go all well. That would go all well. All right. So with that, show number 89 somehow is going to drag itself to a close. Thank you, gentlemen, as always, very much for the time.
Hey, at least we finished this show before 100.
That's right. That's right. We're
right.
just almost there. We're almost there. All right. With that, thank you. I'm going to start powering things off. So everyone have a great rest of the day, weekend, and we will talk next Friday for show number 90. And here we go there. And there we go there.